Man, your show's gonna be awesome, bro. Your show's gonna be awesome.
Okay, Staniscapi, everybody, how's it going? This is Little Dog. I just wanted to thank you guys all for tuning in for another show. I'm really excited about today's episode. We have one of our sponsors coming on today, which is from Water Pure Texas LLC, and I am extremely excited about it. Let everybody know that we are live. As far as I guess, one of our guests will be joining us today, which is actually David of Water Pure LLC. And then we also have sorry, it's been it's been a crazy day. It's been because we did a test today, and we're gonna show you guys that test because it's here in Fort Worth Water Systems. And this is on a house that actually does have somewhat of a filter on it, just they're having a little bit of issues with it, and so we did a little bit of their testing on it. So it did clear out a lot of stuff. And please, if you don't mind the background noise, but uh, I just want to go through and go ahead and thank all of our sponsors. First off, I'd like to thank Enchiladas Olay. Thank you guys for making this possible. Thanks for always supporting us as well as keeping us, you know, always in the front for us. She was one of the ones that, Mary was one of the ones that first helped me out with my career, being able to afford to stay at different places, different hotels, stuff like that. So, and she's always been super supportive of us. And even at her restaurant, she's super supportive of us and me and my family. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it. The second one that we'd like to thank is Redbones Financial. At Redbones Financial, what I do is I do pension reviews as well as people who are looking to retire. If you're looking to retire and you don't want the government inside of your pocket, let's talk. I will show you how to make that happen. I'll show you how to understand that you don't have to worry about what the taxes are going to be when you go to retire. Because the two things that you have to, that for any good retirement, and the 401k was never meant to be a retirement plan. What it was is for a conservative way for people to enter the market. You have market risk, the market goes down, you lose money. The market goes up, you see the profits. However, whenever it comes to retirement, again, it's not a viable way for you to actually go into retire. There have been a lot of people who have had to come out of retire due to the 401k or the 403bs. You know, they lose money on the market just like any other plan that's due to market risk. I'm able to help with identifying the gaps that you're going to have whenever you go to retire, as well as try to figure out ways to fill in that gap. So contact me. That is a free assessment that I do with all of my clients because that is a precursor that we need done. And most of us don't even think of retirement, especially since we're young and working hard. However, you need to start working now and saving towards it now in order to save up for when you do retire. Because whenever you go to retire and you don't have that there, then you're gonna see, man, I should have spent more time thinking about retirement when I was younger, when I was working hard. So let's get that taken care of and knocked out for you, as well as let's continue on to thank, Little Dog Construction, Roofing Construction. It's also known as Amadeo Kuwan Construction, and Little Dog Roofing Construction. Amadeo Kuwan is Little Dog in English. I mean, in Blackfeet. And so out of my construction company, I've partnered with Water Pure Texas LLC, so that way we can do a free water test. I do inspections to see if you need to file a claim. If you don't need to file a claim, then you're good. But if you do, then talk to me. We'll see. I'll see if you qualify based on your insurance's parameters. Okay. The last thing I'd like to do is go into Peace of Mind Texas LLC. Uh, Peace of Mind Text, Peace of Life Smoke Shop, peaceoflifeshop.com. And this right here. Now, this is not marijuana. This is actually hemp, as you can tell by the lab results here. This QR code. This QR code, what it does is whenever it's scanned, it goes to a full lab report that not only shows this, it shows a photo of the material as well, and it shows a complete lab report. Okay. So peaceoflifeshop.com, and the code that you're going to use at checkout is Jesse15, Jesse15. Now, we're going to go ahead and move on to the Blackfoot 101 lesson. And this is an association with the Blackfoot Language Academy on Facebook. And the word today, let me get to the comments, is beat. and that's PIIT. So let's say you're at home, somebody comes in, they knock on the door, or you want to tell them to come in. Well, in Blackfeet, the way that you say it is beat. And you can't say it without smiling. So beat. And so you want to say beat. Now that's singular. That's if one person is at your door and you want them to come in. Beat. You can't say it without smiling. Because you're saying it in a welcoming way. Now, the way that you do it, if it is plural, is beak with a K. And so give me 1 second. I'll get that put up on the screen. Hold on. And I'm gonna spell it the Texas way, y'all, okay? And I know that I capitalized the last word, but that's all right, okay? It's just me tonight. There's no producer on with this, so beak, BIIK. And there was a thumb there. I don't know. Was that me? I'm still learning the system, which is actually kind of cool. I've learned that different hand gestures do different things on this, so it's actually pretty awesome stuff. So that is a big thanks to all of our sponsors. And we also want to thank every one of you guys who tune in every single week and kind of give us a views. So thank you guys very much. We really appreciate y'all. I am going to change something on my camera real quick because I forgot to turn off the focus. Okay. All right. Keep the comments up front. Now, moving on, there are a couple of things that are going on. We do have some powwows that are coming up on April 5th and April 6th. There's going to be a powwow in Cleburne, as well as a few other things that are coming up. So here's one right here that now, again, this is a little bit of older video. However, I'm going to start trimming them down as we go along, just so that way I can keep everybody updated on what has already passed. Now, none of these have passed. However, you know, it's from Steven saying thanks for everybody who attended the UTA a few weeks back. And we do want to appreciate and we thank everybody who did join in for that. Now, I had to go back over and turn that off right there. Okay. And now here's the actual powwows and gatherings that are coming up. If you notice, we did have to cut out the audio, mostly because they didn't want us using their audio for the ones who came through. So if you need to take a little bit of time to scan them or freeze them, this is being recorded, so you can play it back later on, as well as whenever it does come out on Spotify on Friday, you will be able to push pause as well as go ahead and do that. Not only that, you'll be able to replay it on YouTube, the YouTube channel. So I need an update on that as well too, the missing persons. All right. And like I said, it's me tonight. We don't have our producer here today. Some stuff has come up, so we special care and prayer towards his family as well. To Will Byers and what he's going through. So, special shout out to you guys there. Okay. Now, coming up, I do have One Bomb. Now, if you want, you can go to the One Bomb Facebook page, and I will be updating this later on. But here's a little ad or intro video. But we are raising money on Indiegogo. So all the small businesses out there that actually want to put your name in a movie, you can go to their page and you can actually check out the different packages and the different levels of investments into the film. All right. For the donations. So it's going to be at Indiegogo. However, you can find the page on Facebook. All right. Hello, I'm Little Dog. You can catch me in an upcoming film called One Bomb. Hola, yo soy Carlos. Me asiste no próximo filme One Bomb. Obrigado. All right. Now, thanks for watching that. Now, the last thing that we want to thank is Honeybee, the Honeybee Fund Foundation. So this is working towards up to a 501c regarding homelessness in America. So this, I'm going to play two more ads for you, and then we're going to go ahead and get into our first guest. All right. So give one more second.
This episode is brought to you by Honeybee Funds. Honeybee is a nonprofit organization set up to help house homeless people that fall through all the cracks of other help. Homelessness in America has skyrocketed since 2020, and it's senseless in the wealthiest country in America. Outside of natural disasters, Honeybee believes there is no reason for homelessness in America. Some people will fall through the cracks because they have no children, no elderly living in their household. Some homeless people are not recovering from drug addiction or recently released from jail, so they are not viewed as priority for housing. Honeybee Funds is set up to help homeless find a home, even if they have large dog that they count as part of their family. Email charliepooch131@gmail.com if you wish to contribute to Honeybee Funds. Now we will return back to our broadcast.
And we are back. And so everybody who helps out with that, we really appreciate it. You contact Charlie Pooch for that one as well, our Will Byler, my producer. And now the last thing that I do have a very big passion on is there is a petition going on. Native American studies are under attack. Most people think that we are extinct. I actually was talking to a little kid that went to my kid's school, and because we give him a ride from our property to school, as he doesn't really have a ride to there from there. The bus system, because the Fort Worth School District is actually losing funding. And so it's not really cool. So they can't really give the kids who live within a mile a ride to or from school via bus. So those are a lot further out rides. However, on our end as well, he thought that, Native Americans were extinct because he saw my shirt, which showed the different indigenous forefathers. And Geronimo, he said, "You look like that guy," which was kind of funny. However, he said, "We're learning about them right now. They're no longer around, right?" I'm like, "Man, I'm sitting right here in front of you." And so there's a miseducation that we're still around, and we are here. We're surrounding you guys. It's just the way that the education system works, it looks like we've completely disappeared off of the radar. And so there is a petition going on in order to fix that. Currently, only Grand Prairie ISD actually does American Indian Native Studies. And they're trying to get it down in Austin, a few schools, but their petition is up for renewal at the end of this school year. So please sign the petition. I have also included a QR code that is going to be attached to the next video, which is put out by the American Indian Native Studies. And you've noticed that I've actually started including them into my ads as far as the ads go for advertising the show, is because it is something that I'm very passionate about, because I've learned the history on and off the reservation. And the history that we learned on the reservation is way different than the one that I learned off the reservation, in the public school system here in Texas, of all places. I learned in Comanche, which is named after the Comanche. How about that? Comanche, Texas. And then I also learned here up in the DFW area whenever I was younger in middle school. And so it is something that I feel very passionate for, that we do need to increase the studies, because it helps with all of us that are indigenous, helps us with cultural identity as well, because there's a lot of people who suffer from the loss of identity. They don't know their people. They don't know where they came from. And so whenever they get older and start learning about it, and it's something that's been recurred on our people who've learned about their indigenous roots later and saw the injustices that was served to the Native people, suffer from an anger. And that is pretty much everybody who's reconnected to their roots. So in order to try to help out combat that and save a little mental health, we'd like to go ahead and get this course renewed, as well as get it on the dockets to be learned in all the school districts in Texas, as well as the nation, but it's Texas.
Currently, only 3 out of over 1,000 school districts across Texas have an American Indians Native Studies course, but other school districts such as Austin and San Antonio have expressed their interest to teach this course, which is why we need your help to make sure this course gets renewed this winter. For a little bit of context, the American Indian Native Studies course is currently offered as a pilot course in Grand Prairie ISD, and it is up for renewal at the end of this academic year. The renewal would renew the existing course that is already approved and make it available to teach in school districts across Texas for the next 5 years. Unfortunately, the renewal process has not been placed on the agenda at the State Board of Education meeting this January, which is why we need your help. Because school districts often define their calendar for the next academic year in the early winter, we need this course to be renewed as soon as possible so that it has a chance to be offered next year. Please help us email State Board of Education Chair Kinsey through the link in our bio or in the caption below to make sure that the American Indian Native Studies course renewal and adoption be placed on the next available agenda. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Now, if you can, like I said, please sign the petition. And okay, there we go. Please sign the petition and make sure that we get that support. Okay. Now, our first guest is David. Sorry, David Bowers of Water Pure, Texas, and he is one of the owners of the company. I have brought him in, and he has actually been a very big sponsor of the show, big supporter of the show. So we want to bring him in, tell his story about it, because water is important, as we all know, and as it was repeated multiple times, especially during the protests, water is life. And so we wanted to make sure that we give you an idea of the reason why, and he's got a very powerful testimony that he wants to bring up and be able to share with all of us here. So we will go ahead and get into that after after I do this short video intro where we tested the Fort Worth water systems. All right.
My name is David Bowers, and I'm with Water Pure, Texas, LLC. Today I'm going to take a sample of the Fort Worth water system with a Spin Touch centrifuge. This machine is a machine that actually doesn't use chemical or droplets and pool chemicals to actually test what is contaminants in the water. This is going to test for everything professionally. This is the same kind of machine that they use as an analyzation if you take it to a water testing lab. So it's a really simple process. As you just saw, I took the water out of the sink. I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to take the water source, and I'm going to put what's called a D13 cartridge, which is nothing more than a little mini chemical lab. And so I fill up all the bevels.
What this allows me to do is it allows me to watch this comments. And if there's any questions or comments, forgot to mention
Anything on, go back to it, shut the lid.
questions are
Super simple, but super accurate.
I'm gonna ask questions about.
Normally what we'll do is we'll put we'll get the city's lab results that they're supposed to put out for public information every month. It should be an updated information. I'm saying what they got in their water, chlorine, contaminants, whatever's being shown.
It's
but
pretty
gotta
good
be
on
public
that. It's just I hate going off of this
And
page.
I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's been my experience that what they're telling us and what we're getting are two different things. This test right here takes about a minute and a half, and we're going to have the results. What I like to do is, these are analysis strips, and what I like to do is to double check. So what we see on the
Or if you wouldn't mind messaging him, because it's just making it slow down. I've been doing a lot of editing, so it does take up a lot of
I can
prayer.
actually take down these litmus tests
You want me to
and
test
test the water, and I
Come
can
to
prove,
right in the
I can
chat
show
and ask
the
questions.
consistency or lack of consistency. If there's something wrong on one side, you can see it. If you see something wrong on the other side, you can see it. But it's a measure taken so we get the most amount of information for what we're trying to do without it being a system where it's a bunch of droplets and pool chemicals and I'm telling you this and it's all about the hardness. That's not what we're about. All right, so as you can see with this, these are the actual results. So you've got what's called FCL. FCL is free chlorine. You've got 0.19% parts per million of free chlorine. And more than likely what that is it's a vapor. After the chlorine starts to heat up on a day like this, it heats up in the pipe. And so that's the actual, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the actual vapor. Now the total chlorine will show hardness. That's how much physical chlorine is still in there that hasn't broken down yet. So you're at a 0.87. So that's 0.87 parts per million. Now the standard is, if I'm not perfectly correct, it's somewhere around a 1 to a 1.2 parts per million is allowable. by human consumption. That's what the government is telling
That's not
us.
nice.
But I don't know
Looks
about
like
you.
it's kind of
Me personally, I don't want any
Or
chlorine.
not. It's playing pretty
I don't
safe.
want to drink pool water.
Okay.
And a lot of the times you'll see that you've got a system that you drink your water, it's got that pool smell, it's got that sulfur smell, it's got those problems. Maybe it's got parts in it. So chunks. So your actual chlorine that has been put in there is 0.68. So on an average, you're probably running, and I don't want to gloss over that, but that's chlorine in its raw form. This is actually not the good chlorine. This is really bad chlorine. And then a lot of the people, you'll hear it a lot of times that everybody's like, well, I want my pH to be right, which is potential hydrogen, meaning that it is going to be what keeps your balanced body. You need that in your system. That's the good stuff. Normally it's an 8.2. Their pH is a 7.7. Your alkalinity is a 103, which is not a bad alkalinity, and your hardness is 3.9. You don't have any iron or any copper. We test for manganese. We test for every major. When we come in, we test for every major heavy metal and any other types of contaminants that isn't
Continue to go forward.
normally
And so,
tested
like I
by
said,
any other
this-
group.
it's not gonna-
So
Sorry, I
that's
figured it.
our test with a Spintos system
Yeah. Just
in a
that.
nutshell.
So,
It's amazing.
Thank
brother.
you.
It really is. Oh, I have the skills, man. It gives me a headache looking at that screen. I am an idiot. I need to learn from you.
we'll go over that a little later
I
on.
need to do an influencer, kind of.
See, there we go. Hey, how's it going, everybody? I am back, and this is David Bowers. How you doing, David?
I'm good. It's
Awesome.
good to be here tonight, little dog.
Hey, excited to have you on. Super happy. Why don't you give everybody a quick rundown to who you are, and then we'll get into the video that we just watched. Okay.
David Bowers, local DFW, the owner of Water Pure Texas LLC. We're a small group trying to make a big difference in water treatment purification. You know, we're not your own group, and we have a couple ideas and we're headed down a different path of what's true and what's not true. And we're just here to help with health and the longevity of not our generation, but our kids and our kids' generations and the generations to come. So our goal is, our mission is for healthy water. Water is life, like Little Dog said. It's the essence to everything. And so everything that goes on around us is based on water. And that we kind of gloss over that and take it for granted. So tonight, maybe we can clear some stuff up and tell you a little about why I'm doing this and what we're doing.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Now, earlier, what we saw tests for. Now, you said that there was a couple of different types of tests, right?
Yep. There's if you've ever been through a water filtration testing system and the guy comes up and wears you out for about 4 or 5 hours and brings out all these pretty chemicals and droplets and tells you all this stuff, and first things first is they didn't tell you what those droplets are, but they're telling you what it does. Okay, so that's a pool chemical test. And do I really want to know that that's scientific? I would prefer scientific. And so what we bring to the table, let me step back just a bit. So in the whole water purification business, it was that one size fits all. So what I wanted to do is in my journey is to find the accuracy, to find what was truly out there, not just test for the stuff they tell you on the Facebook ads and the commercials and the advertisements. They just tell you what you think is going to be scary and what is what, oh, I can get the soap off better, or my hair isn't falling out, but it's still falling out and I got your system. So it's a certain level of accuracy. So what I wanted to bring to the table is to proof in the pudding that by a computer analyzation and a true scientific measure of a testing lab in your house. I'm not showing you all this other stuff. I'm bringing a testing lab to your house to show you exactly what the city is giving you, what your well sites are being told, the aquifers, wherever you just might be pulling water from. But on the notion that every single house, every single home, every single person has a different makeup. Water is different to each individual and what it does for you, what it can do for you. And I would say 90% of the planet doesn't drink out of the faucet. And that's a shame. But we would go buy water bottles and plastics and pay umpteen dollars. I mean, on the average household is paying $50 to $100 a month in water bottles that you buy at 7-Eleven or a store or a Quickie Mart. You know, and we got them right here. We're victim of it. I mean, it's just that convenience. But to know that you have a system in your house and the facade of, oh, it's bad water. We don't live in a third world country where our water should be bad. Mm-hmm. We should be able to grab it, drink it, and enjoy it. But we're not in that. We're not in that day and age.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I mean, because this is going off of a study that I read a while back, and it was about, you know, how water bottles are unregulated whenever it comes to water that are in plastic bottles versus city water, which is heavily regulated through the state. Would you say that out of the most part that the water bottle is a little bit more, I guess, unhealthy than regular tap water, or would you say be around the same?
Well, you made a couple interesting statements in there that the water coming out of the city is regulated to a certain level. Okay, for clarification, they have optimal allowance is what they call it. So you're allowed to have arsenic. You're allowed to have a percentage of chlorine that normally I wouldn't go grab a bottle of bleach and say, man, I feel like I got some bacteria around me and pull a little capsule down. You know, I just wouldn't do it, but they're telling us it's okay. So just for clarification, what they're saying is allowable. Okay, that's questionable. Me, I want none of it. I don't want any of it. And so when you say, now going back to your question in essence, it's funny because you'll look at Ozarka, okay? And if you ever turn the bottle over,
It's not sponsored, by the way.
not sponsored, definitely not, because we don't want these, but we have them right now. So we're hypocrites, but we're trying our best. If you look at them, if you go to any bottle, it's going to tell you the city that it was pulled out of and then repurified. Basically every single bottle that comes out runs through DFW, a distillery here, reprocessed and then stuck in a bottle with a label. And I know this because I wanted to go get my own bottling and start our own water with Water Pure Texas. I wanted to create our own water bottle, but then I got against microplastics, so that went out the window. But that's another thing, another subject. But they wouldn't let me put my purification system in, my filter system in their system to give the water that I want to promote. They will only run their filter system and they'll only do it their way, but you can add like something like an alkaline, which is what they're telling you, which is just a different process in a filter. And so the truth of the matter is it's not any different. It's still purified water, but now you've got it in a plastic bottle. So we're getting microplastics, and it's just went through another process that they're telling us that we should be getting good water anyways out of the sink.
Yeah.
So it's not a conspiracy, but it's just one big
Yeah. So
vicious
basically,
circle.
it's sink water plus filter.
Plus filter. Kind of what I'm trying to do, which actually is a great segue of our system's all natural.
Mm-hmm. And now, what is some of the differences between your system and, say, other systems out in the market?
Okay, no names. This is not what we're here to do to bash.
No.
But if any of your viewers have ever taken the time out, said, you know what, I'm tired of my faucet. I'm tired of skin irritations. I'm tired of that smell, that funk. And they get one of those groups coming in and they call over and they get it on Facebook and they get all these people calling every 5 minutes. Just, it's frustrating. You're not going to get that out of us. But you go through that system and you look, and I did it. So when I headed down this journey, I did that. I went to every one of them. So I'm with a critical thought process of, okay, what's different from you? What's different from you? What's happening here? What's doing here? What is the process? And lack of knowledge, like the regular resident, and it's not of our ignorance, it's just that you wouldn't think it was this. I would have thought I would have seen 5 demonstrations, excuse me, in 5 different systems. I do this because this is what we need to do. This helps a person. Or we do this and this is our system. We developed it. We do this and this is our system and we developed it. And I was completely blown away that every single system was the exact same system. It's just a price range. Who wanted to charge more? It went from $5,900 all the way up to $9,995. The guy would not break 10,000. He said, hey, I'm not at 10,000. That was his pitch. Mm-hmm. But they all had the same tests. They all did the same school. There was nothing original about it. All they did was want to make a friend with you and then sell you on something that sort of you thought you needed, with a bunch of chemicals. Pink dye turns a little blue, and now we've got your hardness, or I'm going to clean your hands, or all this. But it still didn't tell me the facts of, okay, you told me one piece of the picture of, okay, we'll fix that one thing. But in every one of these systems, I got 2 filters over here, and this is going to clean the pipes in my house. And then you're going to get an RO system, a reverse osmosis system. And we've got 7 more filters on there. And I mean, we're doing it. We got you. We got anything. We will take nuclear waste out. It's the furthest from the facts. You got a carbon filter, a sediment filter, and more carbon filters, which a carbon filter is only designed to do one thing, and that's break down color, break down smells. It just attracts it. It is not the know-all, do-all, see-all filter system. Is it a valuable part? For generations and generations, hundreds and hundreds of years, we've been using carbon. The Native Americans used carbon to filter water if they knew they were in a creek that could be questionable. I mean, we've been doing it all our lives. Put it in a bowl, put water in it, drain it through. You got water. You've got water that you're not going to die from. You might get a little giardia sometimes, but hey, whatever it takes to stay alive, you know. But that was back in the day. And so for 30 years, they've been the same system. And you go to them and it's a one size fits all. So now it's down to marketing. Now it's down to the root and the essence of, we're selling you a water system. You can do a salt system, but now in 4 states, salt systems are illegal. They banned them. So you're not going to get that. And the evolution is that it's basically a waste of space.
Yeah.
And
So what were the reasons why salt systems were banned in these states?
a lot of it was contaminants, and a lot of them was, that's actually a really good question, because I don't know if it was more of a political regime for the filter systems to get them out of the way. But the maintenance on them and everything about it just turns into a nightmare. It's expensive. The equipment's expensive. You're paying double the amount on a regular filter system, and you're having to recharge it and add salt to it, and you're waiting for the light. You got to backwash it. You got to clean it. It sits outside. It's a big, clumsy setup. Did it work for the purpose? And everybody's heard that it works on well sites, excuse me again. But it is just one aspect of a cell. It was one model they made 30 years ago, and they keep pushing it. The evolution and the growth is nothing more than more technical, or we're going to stick a chemical over here and we're going to add this. But once again, it's a man-made chemical. You're sticking a man-made polymer bead in your water system to clean it and break down and deteriorate, and you wonder why we have health issues these days. Microplastics. I know it's front page. Microplastics and fluoride, and it's there for a reason. Is why it's on the front page. So
Man, that is actually pretty crazy. It's crazy to hear all of these things that are in our waters, and the fact that water is tied to so much. And the way that I view water is that, water is a carrier. It's either carrying the good minerals that you need into your body, or it's carrying it out. That's why they say like berries. You get your magnesium and different ones through berries and all that, but it's through the hydration, the water that's inside there that carries it into your body. And most people don't realize that. They just think, hey, it's the berry itself.
Yep.
But the stuff goes in the berry. However, it's the water that's in it that goes into the body. And so back in the traditional times too, some of the ways that we get hydrated was by eating fruits and berries. Versus drinking water.
Yep.
Because water would actually dehydrate us. And we've heard it time and time again where people have gotten water toxicity from drinking too much water.
You could die from it. Absolutely. You can basically drown in your own water by drinking too much. Anybody who see those old wise tales, where they're like, I'm going to drink 2 gallons of water in 5 minutes, and then they die.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you're really hydrated, but you're dead.
Yeah.
Great option.
And so it's minerals that's what keeps you hydrated versus just the water itself. And the water is usually used for like detoxing, right?
Yeah.
Detoxing stuff out of your system. If you got some kind of poisoning or food poisoning, they tell you drink water, flush it out as fast as you can.
Anything, any toxin runs through your kidneys, it runs through your body, it purifies, it cleanses, it rejuvenates. It's every piece of your body has to have water.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And so that's these are just different stuff that I grew up knowing as well. But what would you say is some of the difference between the filters for Water Pure Texas?
Okay, that's a great question because, like I keep saying, one size doesn't fit all. The goal of the way we test is to make sure you're 100% confident. And one of the ways we did this is we've actually, and I'm not a water expert. I have not been to MIT. I have not been to doing this all my life and just had a revolution. This is a very short journey I've been on, but God put me on a journey to see things a different way, to come in from another view. So we are able to do what is called a simple system, what I like to call a simple system. You don't need all the bells and whistles and the 32 different filters and our reverse osmosis tank that, did you know? So for every 1 gallon of water you drink out of an RO, you burn 4 gallons. So you waste 4 gallons to get 1 gallon of water. And that to me blew my mind. And that was really left out of the presentations when I first got it. Because I got an RO system, don't get me wrong, I got it. But I dismantled it. I took it all apart, and through my journeys to get to back to the question at hand is I had met people, started talking about it, just doing research, figuring things out, and understood the composition of it, that it was just overblown out. So we at Water Pure Texas have created what would be the most all-natural system that does the most all-natural work for the biggest variety and protection from contaminants, for lack of a better way to put it. And so what we use zeolite. You bring up such an interesting, that's why I love your program, is because you bring up a lot of the Native American culture, the natural, which is up until 1907, that's what we were on. We were on all natural. There wasn't a lot of chemicals, pills, whatever you want to call it. I mean, anything, any of the man-made stuff that we were given to tell us it was going to make us be better. Excuse me. And we ran on what was natural. So I have this right here. This is zeolite. This is Mother Nature's filter system. And not getting into all the evolution of it and the process and everything, but zeolite is Mother Nature's filter system in its natural form. If you go anywhere in the healthiest water on the planet, it runs through this naturally. So we have a mine in Mexico that's 90+% pure, so we don't have a lot of refining. zeolite is plumb amazing. So there are chemicals out there, and if you ever, like I keep going back to it, if you go back to like chemicals that clean calcium out, clean your pipes. If you've ever done this, they're going first thing they're going to tell you is we're going to save your appliances and we're going to get the calcium out and blah blah blah, and we're going to clean your pipes. Well, I'm actually after healthy water, not clean pipes. But hey, if that's it, that's a bonus. Cool. I don't have to fix my water heater. Okay. That process is done through ion exchange. And not to get all techie and scientifically, but what you're going to do is you're going to change a positive to a negative. So calcium hydroxide comes through as a positive, and that's what sticks to everything. Okay. So they've got it on steroids. This Filtersorb, they're beads that you get from Germany, and it's a chemical, and it runs through this big vortex system, and it's like Roto-Rooter. And like I've actually had incidences at homes where it went by so fast that it clogged everything up, clogged their sink drains, clogged all the pipes up, it blew through the water heater, just tore everything up because it just cleaned off a 50-year-old house that's got some stuff built.
Oh wow.
And so it's on steroids. Well, go figure. Zeolite is a detoxifier. What it is it's a porous natural element that is porous, not like sand where it's real fine. It's opened up like a sponge, and go figure that it doesn't do ion exchange also. You know, it is an ion exchange, Mother Nature's ion exchange. So in that same process, water comes through, the ionization changes and it goes to a negative, but the calcium doesn't get stuck in it. On a lot of everything that you get in those other systems, when it goes into the RO, all of it's trashed. So the reverse osmosis system takes everything out and then it re-implements good stuff. That's bad. In a whole home system, they never tell you that, well, we recommend you drink out of the reverse osmosis faucet. They put a nice little spigot right there for you, and you drink out of it, and it's all pretty and tastes great. Great. But what if it doesn't work that day and I got to drink out of the sink? They're not guaranteeing that you get the same situation. You're not getting good water.
Yeah.
So with zeolite, and there's so many facets. So zeolite is also a absorption. So with its ion and its cations, what it does is it grabs everything. It grabs heavy metals, manganese, iron, carbonate, basically everything they don't tell you that's in the water, and they don't even try to clean. And it's a filter system, so it grabs sediments. It's the first line of defense. Mm-hmm. And everything that's in it, it's a detoxifying. So any heavy metals, everything that is polluting our bodies these days, creating, excuse me, need for kidney stones. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying we're going to prevent kidney stones, but kidney stones are a calcium buildup in the body. So this ion exchange processes it through that it doesn't group up together and grow, and you don't have calcium, you won't have kidney stones. But you'd have to drink out of just the RO system for them to do that, basically. And so, and Filtersorb does do it, and I'm not going to use their name, I shouldn't, but that other chemical will do it. But what we do with zeolite, and why I'm so in love with it, is that zeolite does it through your whole house. And it does it naturally. So it's not a mad Roto-Rooter. It does it over time. It is a process, and it starts to clean your house at a rate that it needs to be cleaned. It also does that for your body. It cleans it at a rate that you can do. You need that calcium. The calcium, the hardness, everything, the potassiums, all the good minerals are all negative ion exchange, negative ions. So they pass right through. They don't get caught up in it, and they're not being processed through a bunch of carbon filters. Mm-hmm. So we don't use block carbon filters like many of the other brands use blocks, which blocks are put together with bentonite polymers, compressed and man-made. So you've got to hold something together, and yeah, it's NSF and FDA approved, but Yeah, they also let red dye through. So, I mean, so what are we really believing again?
And not only that, they have binding agents, right? Correct? Are those
Binding agents? Yeah, yeah, with those other processes. Yeah, they have to bind it together, and that's the polymers and the plastics and the glue.
And that leaks through into your water system as well.
That's the deterioration. So if you get like certain cities, and I'm not going to name any cities because I don't want to really badmouth
Yeah.
any cities. So some cities will give you a analysis, the one we were talking about earlier, every 30 days. Good cities will do it. Some cities will give you a periodical or every so often will give you a analysis out for public information, but it's based on a 12-month average. And so with that 12-month average, if you're sitting on the high side of something like chlorine, well, then you had to be a couple months in there that was really high. So it brought it down to the average, which is their level of allowable. And so that specifically, just talking chlorine comes in, and we know what it does to detergents. We know what it does to dirt and clothes. We know what it does to everything. It's to tear it down. And that's what it does. It starts breaking into the block medias, and then they start to disintegrate. And so you have all those toxins coming back into your body. And they're telling you every year you got to come out and we're gonna check it. We're gonna put you a new one in there for $800. That's ridiculous, man. I can buy one on the street for $30. But do I go through that problem? No. Zeolite, and to circle back the wagons on zeolite. So Mother Nature's filter system, there are supplements out there. You can actually powder this material. It's a detoxifying agent for the body. So once it's in your system, it detoxifies everything. It takes all the heavy metals that you have built up in your body, and it purifies your body. You can actually powder this on to a 200 mesh plus, a powder, put it in a capsule and eat it.
I've seen those on Amazon actually too. The detox powders for zeolite.
Detox. There's several huge GB. I'm not going to use them because I can't probably say his name on here, but you know, it's publicized. They're like, you need to look at zeolite. It is a new detox.
You can say it. I mean, it's just, because this is actually a public thing. This is gonna be on Spotify and YouTube as well. If you're quoting something, so that way they can kind of look up the quote themselves as well.
Yeah.
Because I always encourage everybody to do their own research as well.
Yeah.
And so if we're gonna, speak facts, don't be afraid to say his name, so that way they can go do the research themselves, and then after they verified it, they can just be like, "Oh yeah, it is very true."
That is very true. Last week, Gary Brecka, he was just saying that, okay, zeolite is this hidden gem for detoxifying your body, that you should get it in a powder form, put a spoonful in your energy drink, put it in your hydrogen water, because that's the next biggest thing, which we do offer hydrogen on tap.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're taking it down to a molecular. The goal of Water Pure Texas is to take everything natural that we need to be in, that it's not all these gimmicks and not all these parts. And
Yeah.
because it's a big monstrosity that this has got to be the best for me, we as a society need to get back to the simplistic and let it be what it is and do what we say we're going to do. We come out there every year, no matter what. We put you on a cycle. We call you up and say, hey, we just want to come out and test it again to make sure everything's working right. We do that. There's no extra cost to you. If there's something wrong for 3 years, I'll change all the material out. If there's a media or maybe there's something that comes in, but that's just a warranty. I'll tell you all about that another day when you want to really go through it. But some of the other attributes of it that long chain microplastics are attached to. We can actually help with the implementation of removing microplastics, long chain, out of the water system, and nobody's claiming that because it'll go around all their stuff. It's just a plastic on plastic, so it kind of slides through. We grab it. Our sediment system is, I can't even say design. It's Mother Nature. She just grabs it. This is the actual purification. She's taking care of it.
Yeah. Now, is there how many filters or how many systems would you say in the United States have zeolite in them? Do you know?
Not many.
No.
Not many. It's been ostracized. That's the thing about it because, and I'm not going conspiracy theory, but if you've got all the big boys and you've got two people that sell every system, two groups, two companies sell all the systems to all of the same people, you think they're going to let the market come in? They're going to badmouth it. They're going to keep it out because they've got their niche. They've got their market. We're selling these. Our marketing's great. We'll just keep producing this and telling everybody what they got.
Now, overseas, they do use zeolite and other filters on other countries, correct?
Absolutely. Sweden, we are the only country that doesn't recognize it as a water treatment per se. We recognize it, but it's not a lot. Nobody uses it. Sweden, Mexico, El Salvador, we're doing work in all different countries. And so every country has accepted it and recommends it. They require it. They don't want the beads. They don't want the chemicals. And so it's accepted everywhere. There's filtration systems all over the world, but we won't let it in here.
Yeah, that's crazy. Which, for me, I think is more of a medical thing. Kind of, I don't want to say, the words that everybody else says, but I think it's for medical reasons because the medicine and doctors, basically the medical field, makes profit off of repeat customers. So if you never cure them and you just treat the symptoms, then you have a customer for life.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't fix the problem, you just mask it and they have to stay on it. How many doctors? Okay, there was my journey has been eye-opening and overwhelming to say the least. So there's a Joe Rogan and the Minkies podcast, and it just lit me up. And it was along the same lines. So there was the wife and the husband. The husband was a lobbyist for the big pharma. She was a neurosurgeon. And they both quit to go anti-system. And they've started their own, I don't know if it's a nonprofit, but they've started their own campaign to get people to understand what's really going on. And that was one of the biggest things, is that they were talking about that big pharma would give you a pill and just mask it, but it was a pain over here. And she would verify it from him and they would validate each other because she would get a patient in and they would say, okay, you're going to work on that spot. And she would say, hey, no, you got problems over here and over here. And they would say, no, you're going to another specialist. And then they just kick you down the road. How many times do you ever hear upstream, downstream from a doctor? Have you ever heard that term?
Actually, I have never heard of that term, but it does make sense from how many times you gotta go to different doctors.
And it even coincidence into upstream, downstream in a physical therapist. Okay, so if you've got a pain in your ankle, it might not be your ankle. It might be a bad muscle in your knee. So you go upstream, downstream to see why that problem is happening. The medical system and purification, they're just a one trick and then they want to kick you down the road. They want to give you that one little fix and not fix the problem. It's the problem with our society as it is right now. And that's what it looks like. So to have this system in place is just a money grab. I mean, it's just to keep us on that hamster wheel, to always be in pain, needing another drug. Hopefully we get the blue pill instead of the red pill. I mean, whatever it takes to get us out of higher consciousness, to understand what's going on in the real world, or even God bless, but I mean, just to understand what's happening in our own bodies. I mean, we don't know, but I'm pretty sure when I got a stomachache and I ate a bunch of Baskin Robbins the night before, I'm pretty sure I know what it was. It's not because I got an ulcer.
Yeah.
But that's my kryptonite.
And not only that, I mean, there were a couple of things that you touched on that I kind of wanted to go back into, such as the calcium itself. And you said that it's positively charged. Now, that's unstable calcium, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so is it possible that whenever this unstable calcium, that it
By calcium hydroxide. So calcium by itself would blow up.
Yes,
So, okay.
Sorry, not that kind of one.
Not that kind of blow.
The kind that's in the water,
Yes.
the hardness.
Yes.
Is it possible that that could be what's responsible for some people losing calcium in the bones? Is it attaching to the calcium in there and leaching it out of your bones?
That's a great question. I think there's a lot more to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think then this could be another conversation for upstream, downstream, and using water as an essence. So if you get iron and you get a bunch of other contaminants, the first place it goes is into the bloodstream. Okay. So in the bloodstream, then it goes to the bones. So if you have an arsenic or you have iron, manganese, cobalt, a lot of stuff that they don't tell you about, that's what gets into your bones and starts deteriorating it. Calcium on calcium probably is, and I'm no scientist, so I'm going to use just my educated guess on it, is depending on how the calcium, if it's been rapidly ion changed, then there is a chance. And then I'm going to actually take a note and look that up and do research, on that, because it could be that rapid exchange is actually a pollutant in your body. It may clean pipes, but hey, it might be tearing, and that's genius. I mean, I never would have thought about it from that angle, but now I have to know. And there could be a probability. Yeah, that's awesome. That was cool. I need to do that. I'm going to do that. One of the other things that I like to go back to that.
Sorry. Doing that.
And so, just another quick tidbit of facts. Okay, so they said something in there that blew me away. And it was the menstrual cycles of young women nowadays. So 15 years ago, guess what the menstrual cycle was?
What's that?
14 years old.
Yes.
Guess what it is today? The average.
My daughter's 9.
It's 9. That is ridiculous. And they're blaming it on the toxins and microplastics. They're saying that it's getting uterine, it's damaging women, and it's creating a menstrual cycle. And it could be just one piece, but is it one piece fixed big enough to help change everything? If we go by the philosophy of Big Pharma, okay, well, we fixed one thing, but on our side, fixing one thing means we fix a lot. And kind of a little bit of testimonial. Well, here, I'll finish answering your questions.
Oh no, actually, that I was actually going to that. I was gonna say you had an interesting testimonial whenever it comes to this, don't you?
Yes, I do. Like I say, I'm not MIT. I have not been doing this all my life, but it is a passion, and it was presented to me in a way that I can't get away from it. It's everything that my one chance as a person to fix. And how it worked out was I went on the Camino de Santiago. I went on a pilgrimage across Spain. 500 miles I walked. And so you go through every village. It's walking. So you're not flying by and just seeing anything. When you go through a village, you see everybody. They're sitting on the streets. The families are together. Everybody. It's huge. And it's always, so you're meeting people over and over again. It's the most beautiful experience. But I kept noticing something over and over and over again. And I don't know why. I didn't know why I was seeing it, but I started actually keeping numbers in my head while I was walking. And it was basically 1 out of every 5 children had autism, a disability, some sort of impairment. And I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. This is something I would see in the States, see in America, because they got McDonald's on every corner and it's preservatives, red dye, and all the cereals and Kellogg and all this contaminants that we're not even allowed to eat over here in Spain. They don't even ship it over here. So, but then I'm looking around and I'm going, man, they're actually cutting up a cow right there to make for dinner. So that can't be bad for you. So it can't be the food. So throughout the whole process, I was noticing this over and over. And I mean, it got to where it was everywhere. And I was like, man, this isn't my pilgrimage. I don't want to keep doing this, but I kept noticing it. And so it took 30 days to walk this, but the last 12 days was about 179 miles. Well, I was drinking out of bottled water because it's another country. I'm like, hey, you got to drink out of bottled water. You got to do this. You never know. Well, I didn't have any bottled water and I needed water and I was dried up. So my Camelback, I went to a fountain and all these villages have fountains that just have open water systems. So I fill it up. Like, okay, I'm on my move. And this was that morning outside of Leon, Spain. So I'm drinking my water and about 3 hours later, it felt like a truck hit me. Just couldn't walk, dizzy, could just upset stomach, everything. So I had to stop. I went to an albergue. For lack of a better way, it came out both ends for about 12 hours. And I thought, okay, I must have had food poisoning. Must have had something. Didn't know what it is. There's no doctors. There's no 7-Eleven. There's no nothing. So needless to say, I wasn't quitting. I had to finish because that's just not who I am. I don't give up. So I walked another 12 days with Giardia, which is beaver fever, which is a water poisoning and E. coli. So I got a contaminant and it tore me apart. I didn't eat or drink. I forced down electrolytes and then would nibble and puke it back up and then do what I could do just so I could keep going. And when I got to the the Santiago de Compostela at the St. James Cathedral, I was done. I was over. I was famished. I couldn't handle it. I was depleted. I lost like 20 pounds. It was just miserable, but I made it. And it was the greatest experience of my life. Well, ended up coming back to the States, getting tested, and sure enough, had Giardia. And they antibiotic pills about yay big, shots, the whole works. I had to go through all these processes. Well, the story gets a little more interesting is that because of the Camino, I went to go to El Salvador to talk to a group about the Camino de Santiago and my experience. So when I'm down there, it was in El Salvador, but it wasn't in San Salvador. It wasn't in the city. It was in a village 3 hours away at the organizer's place. And so I had to go through all these villages. And I was stopping in villages and we were meeting the locals and making a trip out of it. I wanted to see the culture. Sure enough, guess what I noticed? Again, 1 out of every 5 kids. And even more than that there. And I was like, and I'm just blown away. I'm like, oh my Lord, what is this? What is this? I want to move to places like this, but I don't want to move to places like this. I'm not having my grandkids come here. No way. And it just kept over and over again. So we went through the retreat and I met with them, told them all my story, and still wasn't on this path. Met a guy, and zeolite has so many functions naturally that would help the planet. It's a pozzolanic material, meaning that if it's crushed up fine enough and added with additives, it can actually make concrete.
Oh, wow.
It's a hardener for concrete, an additive. That's cool. So you don't have to go scorch the earth for Portland and keep making that powder that's a carcinogenic and burning the ozone up because of all the emissions off of it.
Yeah.
It's right. We can cut it down by a third today if America would let us do it. So I went down to look at the mine because I was in that kind of business. So I went down there and I checked out their mine and I was looking at it, getting the information on it, and we're talking about it and the logistics are right. It was a bunch of little things, but we're sitting there. So I'm looking up zeolite. I'm just kind of playing with it. And then I see the supplements. I'm like, wow, that's detoxifying. That's kind of cool. I'm like, what did I get myself into? What is this stuff? It's like, oh. So I'm talking to the guy that invited us down to look at everything, and he's like, oh wait, I have a filter system. I create filter systems for water treatment. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I tell you what, brother, it was like Tyson in that first 30 seconds. Bam! It hit me so hard and so fast that it was like I'm shaking all over. I didn't know what hit me, and it just like a light bulb, just poof. You've got to go start working in this direction. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know anything about it. I was like, okay, I'm in. I mean, God was telling me, you got to go do this. And the higher spirit, I just started rolling down this path. So I met them, and it was just a freak conversation that he found out what I did, and I found out what he had. And we were talking about two different things, and it's the synchronicities of life. And so, as like I told you earlier, I came back and I wanted to learn how do we fix water? Because my ultimate goal here is that we've already partnered up with El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico governments to take this on a large scale to put it on well sites.
Nice.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to go around the world and fix well sites and fix village water. Lord knows I don't want anybody to get Giardia. And it's painful. And
You know, actually from Montana, they're having that issue right now on my reservation where they're having Giardia in the water. And there have been some people that got sick on it. But there's a lot of well water up there as well too. And so I know what you're talking about on that part. And even as far as catching it, I actually caught it myself when I was really young. And I want to say it was around the time that I was in middle school, we had actually gone down to, because this is my dad. You met him?
Yeah,
And he's taken care of me since I was 2. And so we went down there, we moved down to Mexico. And it was San Miguel de Allende, in one of the all small villages.
really,
And so whenever I was over there, I got sick. I got really sick. And I couldn't hold anything in. I went all the way down to, I was bone.
oh, your bones, it just deteriorates your body. You can't do anything.
I couldn't hold water down. I couldn't hold food. The only thing that I could hold down was Jello.
Yeah, that
And,
was oatmeal. It's mine. I could find oatmeal. I was all over it.
and so they ended up taking me to the doctor, and it was a bunch of shots. Now my mom wasn't very good at shots. She would go.
It's not hard, Mom. It's not hard.
And then my dad came down. He joined us a little bit later on. He was working at a hog farm before. Then I used to work with him when I was really young.
Right.
And so he was used to vaccinating the pigs. So he was like,
Thank you. Your brain is all up and down.
And so for over there, we had to get it in the buttocks.
He looks like a pincushion, man.
And so, but yeah, it is super painful.
It's the most miserable, and then to walk 179 miles, it was the most miserable experience.
Could not have done that because I became extremely light sensitive. Like I was dying. I was going to die.
And you felt like you were gonna die. There was nothing gonna help you, and you were gonna die. You couldn't drink, you couldn't eat, you couldn't do anything. And it's the most miserable feeling.
And I was so weak that they carried me to the bathroom, and I was light enough to be carried to the bathroom.
Yeah, they were just like, come with me. I got you.
And so, it's definitely something that I care about too, because water is so important. And like I said, on my reservation right now, last I heard, there's a Giardia outbreak in the water. And so they're having to be careful up there. And I believe even at my grandpa, before he passed away, his well was tested positive for Giardia.
And that's all the critters, all the animals, all the rivers feeding into aquifers. I mean, it's just a saturation process. One thing goes down there and dies, or does its business anywhere close, it's over. I mean, it's over. It's an E. coli infection.
Yeah.
And so that is it. And I'm not saying that zeolite is the know-all end-all, but it is definitely some armor in the fight. And that's why I like to tell everybody that the thing that separates us from everybody else is that we actually care. We're not a big corporation. My partner is an elderly lady and her husband, and they've been doing this for 25 years. So I partnered up with people that have history in the business and could learn from them. And also, have a ground up business that could change, not somebody that's already stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
So when I say that they say it's one size fits all, because that's what they're trying to sell you. What I want to do is I want to go isolate the problems, the upstream, downstream. I want to find out everything and then create the system.
Yeah.
If it's not this, then we'll do this. I have all these ways to make these things natural that we can fix all the problems. And it just depends. You might have a specific area that Montana. We have to do something just a little bit different. But we work with groups that are willing to go to that extra mile to isolate it and make a system that fits the problem. And now that's the problem with like a well site. You're feeding a lot of people. That's going into a big stand tank, a big storage facility. So it's just sitting there doing that. So you got a lot of probabilities. You got a high flow rate. You've got gallons per minute coming through, probably 150 gallons. You got pumps. There's a lot of logistics. And a lot of people won't touch it. They'll stick a chlorinator on the other side and call it a day. That's what they do in Mexico.
Yeah.
We can come in at the pump site, and we're doing it here in Texas. We've got properties and groups that we work with that we build huge tanks of this material, the same thing that's going in your house on a large scale, and all their water runs through it. And we're providing water for 3,000 houses. So it's a matter of getting out there and fixing the problem and everybody's problem, not just one size fits all. We'll just do this. It's the same all over the world. Everybody has the same problem.
Nice.
No, we all have our own individual perception and problems. So it's just like that. We go in and we isolate the problem that you have at your system, and we make the healthiest system you can possibly imagine.
And that is awesome. Now, the system is it's not a big tank. It's a 3-filter system, correct?
It's a 3 canister system that we can do. And I'll tell you a funny another part. Okay, so it's a 3 canister system, and we like to do it one of 2 ways. We can put it in the garage. It's very non-intrusive. It's not this big conglomeration that you're worried about it blowing up, and it looks like NASA just left their fuel tanks over here. It's not like that. It's a very simple system with a bypass. Everything's guaranteed for life, all parts. And there's another part of this that most people don't realize. Okay, so, but this is a home health system, meaning every faucet in the house is equally as good and be perfectly pure. It'll be perfectly clean, even to the rain shower. If you stick your face up there and you go to drink that water, it's just like coming out of a faucet. It's still cleanest water you can get. So we offer that for the whole home. I like to put the system right behind the water meter. Okay, and I do this for a certain reason. I like to put it in there. It's an isolated system. It's out of sight. It's controllable. There's nothing going to break. And it's in line with everything that comes to your house. So everything. That means your sprinkler systems, your house, everything. So through my research, you'll find this funny, I hope. But you know how every summer, they say, hey, there's a water ban. No water in your lawn from 1 to 2. If you do, and you see that guy that didn't listen to it, and he sprays his water, and now his grass is all yellow. It's so funny. They're like, oh, you burned it from water. When has water, in its essence, pure form water, ever been bad for grass or plants?
Never.
I'm pretty sure never. They're telling us that you burned it from the water. No, you burned it from the chlorine. The conspiracy is that from 1 to 5 in the hottest part of the day, once it hits the grass, it creates a vapor. And that chlorine burns off, and it'll damage your kids' lungs.
Yeah.
It'll damage your lungs. People will start passing out on the street. It gets on the concrete, and it creates the vapor. Have you ever seen it's nuts?
Yeah.
And they're telling, oh, we're on water. Man, I live next to a lake. We can't ever be out of water. Man, that thing's huge.
Yeah.
You make the stuff. I know we can have it. And it's worse, like a lot of people, have you ever taken a really, really hot shower and sat there, and when it got really hot, you see that steam and everything, and you're like, ooh, man, this is really hot. I'm kind of dizzy. It's not the steam. It's the chlorine vapor. It's the free chlorine that's turned into vapor from the heat activation that now you're getting it in your lungs.
That makes sense.
And That's just garbage.
All right.
That's just garbage.
I used to be a pool guy whenever I was I used to pool. And so I would always tell people, they're like, oh, yeah, I can smell the chlorine. We can tell it's really working. I'm like, no, you're not smelling the chlorine that's in the pool. That's chlorine that's being vaporized through the heat.
That's through the heat vaporization. You're smelling the vapor. You're dying right now.
Yeah.
It's killing you.
You're inhaling gas. And so I'd always tell people, I'm like, they got it's outside, but hopefully it's on a windy day. If you're smelling that, you don't want to be in the pool because you're right there where it's vaporized against the chlorine gas.
Just hit you. Just all right. Let's go swim. I'm out of breath. I stick my head up. Big old lung of it. You can't breathe the next day, and you got a cough. You're like, man, what's going on here?
I just went swimming.
I just went swimming. As I just chlorinated my pool and that's the funny thing, that Zeolite, we're actually working with groups to put them in pool filter systems.
That was going to be my next question. I was like, could some of the applications be for pool filters?
Now, here's another conspiracy. It's already been on the market for pools. They're outlining sand because of the contaminants that get in it, and they don't want to use it as a bio waste.
Oh, yeah.
You could put zeolite, and you can use zeolite in it. Here's the problem, is that if you use zeolite in your pool filters and as a filter system, you don't need all those chemicals.
That's true.
You don't need them. They make,
Yeah.
they make $600 to $800 a month on that pool chemical getting put in there, and you're out there with your little colorful drops and thing. Holy, that might be blue, that might be green. I don't know. I better have worth worrying.
Yeah, whenever I did it, I used to work at a complex at first, but before I got licensed. And we
You
had
know
the
all
big-
the best of it. You've seen it from the nitty gritty there.
yeah, we had these big old sand filters, and anytime we had to open them up to clean them, wear a mask, you had to wear gloves. I mean,
Oh,
it was a whole thing. Not only that, the outer shell of the filter itself, which was the fiberglass.
Yeah, it looks like a HEPA filter, but it's all fiberglass.
And so the inside would start to come out and it was filtering into the pool. So for a longest time, I was like, I don't want to swim in the pool. I'm the pool guy cleaning it. I'm cleaning. I wouldn't recommend swimming in it because it's got fiberglass in it. It's leaking sand right now. Whenever I opened it up to try to clean it, it had all this algae and fungus in there. And I had to clean that algae out. And then I had to go into the pool itself and clean the black algae. It was algae that was actually from the filter that was getting into the pool, causing it to stay black. And I had to use all sorts of different chemicals.
That's hardcore.
And I had to go straight down with a tube and get all the water out and pour hydrochloric acid directly onto it. And then eventually this stuff was out called yellow out. And so we started using that to kill it.
Yeah, they just needed something else.
Yeah,
it'll still tear my skin up, and I'll have a hole about yellow baby.
We had to shut down the pool for like days and like weeks before it could even get approved. And it looked good. I mean, the pool was crystal clear with black algae at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, well, I got to add more chemicals. I got to make it, more hydrochloric acid. And it was a 4-pool system. So there was 2 pools here that connected, 2 pools here that connected. And so I had to fight the battle against the entire pool.
All the way down.
Exactly. And so it was, I've seen that from that side. Even like the pool filters, whenever it comes to cleaning, I used to do the annual cleanings at the swimming pools because I had my own pool route that I put together after I got licensed, and I used to do the little orange truck pool cleaning service.
Nice.
Orange truck.
Yeah, never ending business.
And so whenever I clean it every year, I pull out the filter, and it was just nasty all the way down. And it's just like, golly, this is all getting trapped through there. And the filtration system is just, it's working, but it's not working.
And the root of that is, where is that water? It's not like it's coming from a special spot. Hey, this is our special pool water. We're sending to you on a special pipe. That's the same stuff coming to your house.
For sure.
That's ridiculous. But yeah, that's the essence of it, is we're trying to get it, but it's lack of knowledge. And I'm going to break it down even further, that it's lack of caring about the public and the resident and your health and my health and your patrons' health.
It's all about money, and it's all about keeping us repeated customers. That's why we have all the crap that we have in our food. That's why the different dyes that affect us in different ways, are still in our foods. chemicals that are banned in other countries are allowed in our food here in the States.
Yep, we can't even ship it over there.
Exactly. It's like, what was it? Skittles. Skittles are banned everywhere.
Everywhere.
And
I don't even want to get into what it's made out of and what they use for the gloss. I heard
Yeah.
there's an urban legend.
Oh yeah, it gets pretty bad.
Yeah, it's nasty what's out there, and the other countries know it, and they're like, no, you're not gonna get Cheetos over here. I don't care what you say.
It's
But yeah, we're just stuffing our faces with it.
And so it's all for me. I think that it all leads back to the medical. You know, they keep us chronically sick, chronically inflamed. You know, hydrogenized water will actually give a lot of people talk about, oxygen in the blood. And so, it'll oxygenate your blood, keep you kind of healthy in that way, get rid of a lot of the contaminants and keep you, I guess, oxygenated.
Oxygenated.
And that's why I would say when you breathe in your nose, because you have all the blood vessels right here and the oxygen goes into
It
your
comes through. And I'm glad you brought up hydrogen, because when we talk about the healthiest water on the planet, we're giving you the filtered healthiest water, but there is something that has to be done. And Gary Brecka, I follow him. RFK, you got it going on. It's amazing what they're trying to do with fluoride, and that's a whole nother thing with the pineal gland and the glossing and the clustering of particles all over your brain that creates it. That's a whole nother subject. But with zeolite and hydrogen, we offer up it's underneath the sink, it's a hydrogen water on tap. So you can actually adjust the alkaline, the pH, everything that would fit your body. When you go get these tests and they do all we got you a pH of an 8.2. That might not necessarily be good for you in alkalinity if you go drink smart water, the most alkalinized water in the planet. But I got a sensitive stomach, so it's not good for me. So with our system, and we've partnered up with a group out of Reno, and so you can actually have hydrogen water. Now, for those of you who don't know how hydrogen water works, I've seen all the commercials. It's actually it's ionized water, meaning they electrically stimulate it and break oxygen molecules down to its simplest form. It's the root of an oxygen atom, meaning it's separated so many times, and we do it at 1800 BPM. And so it breaks it down to almost nothing. And now we go back to the medical field. It's being prescribed for dialysis patients because it gets through the kidney softer. You get through your bloodstream. It gets into your platelets better. It cleans out the arthritis. It cleans out the calcium buildups. It takes oxygen to a new level to get it down molecularly into your body faster. It's quicker on recovery if you work out. It's the healthiest water on the planet. You hydrate faster. It's just unlimited what it does. But we offer that system along with this, and you have got pretty much the most perfect water on the planet and the healthiest system for your body.
Nice. Now, I really appreciate this, and I know that we've actually kind of gone a little bit over on my time a bit, but it's totally okay, because this is definitely something that is very important for everybody, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that there is a way out there, that there is a system. And so to help out with a lot of these, because water, people don't think about water, and now people are starting to wake up to it.
Yep.
But initially, people never really thought about water being bad for you, because you hear a lot of the older generations, I drank out of the water hose.
Back in the day, I got to drink out of the hose, and I did. I'm that age.
I did too. Well, we didn't get stuck. Well, either to stay inside or stay outside.
Yeah.
And so we stay outside, drink out of the hose. But anyways, I do want to bring you on again another time, because eventually I do plan on turning it into a full-time type of talk show.
Okay.
And so, and then that one, we'll do a little bit more of it in person as well. But, I'm talking to a lot more platforms.
Yeah.
Putting my show on their platforms a lot more,
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to about 3 or 4 different platforms. Some of them are the Native American experience, First Nations experience, which is the FNX app, and a few other ones. And so whenever I do that, as well as I'm trying to striking up the conversation with the Dallas Film Circles, Texas Film Commission, to try to turn it into a Texas's first late night show.
I'd like to say that I'm honored to be here. I know this sort of subject isn't your forte, but you did a great job tonight. It was fun. I had a great time. We're both passionate about what we do, and you're really good at it. And I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to a group that might not necessarily get that information from this platform. And if you're going more platforms, God bless.
I appreciate
I
it.
mean, God bless.
It's I thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I'll have you come back there. I mean, you can head out if you like to. However, oh yeah, we said Bellringer said, Will said thank you as well for coming on the show as well. This is actually something that people need to know, because even as actors, we rely on memorization a lot, right? However, if you have cleaner water in your system, you're not having all the junk in your system, brain fog isn't quite there. So it makes it a little bit easier to actually concentrate and focus.
Well, it's the key to clarity. I mean, water is clarity. You don't go drink a bunch of alcohol before your show. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. You're going to be cloudy. But what they're putting in our bodies is clouding us up. That puts us back on the hamster wheel. It goes back to my analogy: the red pill or the blue pill. Which one do you want?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm honored, and thank all of you for following Little Dog. I love this guy, and I look forward to it. Anytime you want to have us on, I'd love to sit back and chat about some other stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect, man. And I really appreciate it. Now, again, thank you for coming, man. It's
My
been great.
pleasure.
And like I said, I do like to translate things over, because, acting is, you're self-employed and you're a business owner.
Yeah.
Business is not easy.
Nope. We all know business is not easy when you're trying to make it on your own.
And that's the same with acting, is it's business. You got to have a business mindset to it. Most people get into it thinking that, oh, it's going to be like a job. No, you're self-employed. You're in charge of your own marketing. You're in charge of, putting yourself out there and introducing yourself to other people who don't know you, don't know your value, but you got to know your value.
Yep. And that's a great way to put it. To be on your own is to self-worth. Your self-worth has got to be a lot. And you got to be able to struggle in it. And it's a whole other subject that you guys get onto. But the one thing about it that is the similar path is passion. You do not become an actor or in the entertainment business if you don't have a passion for it. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I've been a business owner in several facets over the years and worked for the man. And being a business owner and something you're not passionate about hurts. It'll wear you out, but you take it so much further with the entertainment value and the passion.
For sure.
That's how you grow. That's how you make the big show.
Exactly. And I have other plans as well too, because being an actress, you got to be able to be able to save for the future as well, and save for your retirement. You hear about so many actors that go to retire and they can't retire.
Yeah. Somebody stole their money.
Yeah.
Bad investments.
And so, that's why I do. So eventually I'm going to have somebody on who talks about, retirement plans as well too. So it's just not only entertainers that I want to bring on. It's just, I want to open everybody's minds to everything that's around them and everything that's around us in general.
And that's what needs to be done today in our society. And that's what makes it great. And I follow and I want to see more of it. I want to pick your brain on financial stuff. I'm not a guru. I got to retire someday, I think.
Eventually.
Not anytime soon. We'll be pushing these systems, that's for sure, forever. But no, man, there's a lot of subjects out there, and the public needs to hear it. And when you're as raw and original as you are, then it makes it easier to come here and do this. And then you're going to get the truth. I mean, that's why Joe Rogan's Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
He doesn't come in with a side. He doesn't come in with a personal view and push you in that direction. He's not a Tucker Carlson where he's going to push you down this path and get you in his thinking his way. No, this is the beauty of what I think podcast, the essence is someone like you that comes in and wants to see and can assimilate all the reasons. They all kind of coordinate together. But I can see that's the history in your culture. I can see that in the Native American, that you bring that to the table. That's cool. That's not lot of people can't say that. And I can see that in you.
I appreciate it. Now, again, thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and bring in our next guest. And so, and what I'll do is I'm gonna play a little video that he's put together. He's actually putting together a film. And his name is Wayne Gardner. He's an actor, he's a musician, he's a songwriter, and he's also a director too. He's been putting together this little film that he is going. I believe they're going for funding right now. However, it's called Merciless Indian Savage. And so
Wow,
I'm trying
that's
to.
quite the name.
I'm very interested in checking that out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put it on the screen here in a second.
Yeah, I'm
And
curious.
then I'm going to bring him on as well. Let me make sure there's no ads. Okay, there we go. And this may be a little bit tricky. Let me see. Video. Screen share. Cool. Also good so far. There we go. And here we go. While I do this, we can go ahead and switch cameras and stuff. Okay. So I'm gonna remove us for this thing.
So, you think we're gonna bump and pay from trafficking versus drug running? I don't know. That was one time, amigo. I'm open. You branch out.
¿Qué pedo? ¿Qué hiciste? What'd you do? No mames, güey.
I don't know, man. You told me to put gas in it. I put gas in it, right? What the fuck, man? What the fuck is that, man? Oh,
Yeah, I was just seeing if you'd given any thought to what we talked about earlier.
I don't think it's a good idea. You know, those places are pretty rough.
Catherine, I mean, it'd only be for a week and then she can come home. It might be pretty good for her to meet some Native American people like her dad and some of her family.
Hey, Dad,
What's up?
what do you do?
Put dishes away. What do you mean, what do I do?
Mom says you get bad guys and stuff.
I mean, that's part of what I do.
Do you ever get scared?
No, the Tijuana cartel was considered by police in the 90s and mid-2000s to be one of the most deadly criminal organizations in Mexico. They have branched out into Native American territory.
You want us to pull back on this one?
Pull back. Well, like, proceed with caution or watch who we take down. Could be dirty.
It's only one bust on the schedule.
Anytime that happens, two words come to mind: payoffs.
This is tribal land. We don't want to cause a cartel war with tribal people in the midst.
Hey, have you seen Amy? I think she's gone missing.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. Look for my daughter.
We need you to get the word out fucking pronto because we're about to take the Menace cartel head on.
boss. He ran through everyone before anyone could do anything. We tried to stop him, but it was like he had something planned for each and every one of them.
What you're saying to me makes absolutely no sense.
You know, he keeps sleeping with his gun under your pillow. You want to blow your head off.
Holy shit.
We fucking buried you. Who did we fucking bury?
Proud killer. I know he's alive. How?
Some supernatural kind of thing attached itself to Proud Killer when he was a kid.
I promise you this. You will never see your daughter again. Alive.
You have no idea what kind of hell you're in for when he finally gets to you.
This pinche Indio, he has no mercy, no soul.
So what's on your mind?
Just my dad. He's alive, isn't he? He's gonna kill all of them.
There's no way for a little girl to talk. What if going by the book ever done?
You better get yourself to
Well, at least I died trying. The U.S. government coined these stripes as merciless Indian savages and the Declaration of Independence. Well, let's find out who the real savage is.
All right. Now that was a pretty amazing trailer right there.
What's up, buddy?
Hey Wayne, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just chilling out, getting ready for this storm that's blowing in. That's about all.
Oh man, you guys got a storm. Where are you located at?
Man, I live North Austin. That's where I
North
live.
Austin.
Yeah.
Okay, man, that is awesome. We were just actually wondering where you do that. Do you play? Now I saw that you have your band, right?
What's that?
Your band?
Yeah. Yep. I got my band, and we used to tour out like quite a bit, man, before COVID.
Mhm.
And you know, during COVID it kind of took us down a little. We were still playing out. I think we were one of the only bands that were left touring when they shut the country down. We were actually coming back from South Dakota, I think.
Okay.
And we were on the road. And so you know, we still continued on what we could, and then the acting thing kind of started happening, you know, more and more. And I got involved with several little production companies here in Texas and Oklahoma. And, you know, it was just something that like I'd kind of, you know, just got some good opportunities and kind of fell in love with. And it was a good way to split the time. Because I've been touring for, I think at that point, for almost like 7 years, and going 5 years, almost 150 to 200 days a year on the road. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it was pretty hardcore. I mean, I tell people, I'm like, COVID, you know, I try and keep my personal life totally private and stuff. But you know, when you're out there on the road, there's a lot of vices and stuff, and alcohol, you know, I mean, it wasn't really my big thing and everything. And so, you know, drugs came along with it. And so it kind of saved my life. I mean, if you want to be honest, I mean, like COVID taking it all out was kind of a blessing, and kind of, you know, directing me towards, you know, something, you know, different now. And I was actually writing just screenplays that I had no clue what I was going to do with ever. When I was touring, and I'd been doing that much drugs that where it got so boring, and just so like I was like, dude, there's got to be something else. What can I do here? So I just started writing, and you know, it's kind of just a healthier, you know, way healthier outlet, and fell in love with it, and then, you know, a lot of opportunities came my way in the last few years. And, you know, the actor strike didn't help any, but I know it's probably necessary for us to carry on, you know, in the future, and not get totally swindled by, you know, corporate and, you know, fucking management or some bullshit like that.
Careful the language. We have audience of all ages.
Oh, okay.
But
All right.
so abbreviated a bit if you don't mind. But yeah, so I don't mind. Plus, it's gonna go on Spotify. You know,
Yeah,
so.
good to know that though. Yeah. So, you know, just a lot of the trash of the corporations and the outside. It's almost like, you know, Hunter Thompson, you know, said it best. I mean, it's like, you know, just kind of leading into that, like, you know, I mean, you have your actors and entertainers, and then, you know, you have the trashier part of it, you know, outside of that. And so, But yeah, just just kind of carried on though. I mean, it was one of those things where the strike really put a damper on stuff, I think, but it was necessary, and it was tough for people that were just getting into it because we had a lot of momentum, and I had a lot of momentum at that time too. And I just gotten asked by John Fusco, who wrote Thunderheart, Young Guns 2, 3, Hidalgo, Marco Polo, the list goes on and on. The guy's a genius. And he had just asked me if I would be interested in playing Attila the Hun and in his series Attila. That was going to be, it's 6 seasons. And so, a month later, boom, the actor strike happened. And we were supposed to jump onto Attila. There was no given time. He said, looking to be in the next year. And so it pushed it back. Hopefully we're still jumping on it. I still talk to John. Nice. And, I can't say too much stuff, privacy and confidentiality and everything. So everything should be coming, up here pretty soon. So, I'm really itching at it, man. I'm working out like crazy and really going to town and, just keeping active and acting lessons and, working on my craft as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that I'm trying to do as well too. I have a lot of roles coming up. However, I've gone to a couple of free workshops for acting and all that. But I'm trying to get to the point where financially I can go ahead and pay for like acting classes, acting schools. Because there's a couple of agents that I've caught the attention of. However, I know that my skills and abilities, I have natural talent, is what I'm told, is that I have really good natural talent. However, there is a difference between natural talent and building on top of it to have that, professional talent. And that's something that I'm trying to build up and get up to myself as well. I know that I'm looking for several movies this year as well too. Now, whenever you did, so you said that you were on tour for 7 years with your band.
Yeah.
Now, are y'all still making music now? Because I think I saw a music video not too long ago, right?
It's I put out my last album was I think 2022. And it was School for Savages, which I took off an excerpt from one of the schools that I went to, Haskell Indian Nations. And a lot of people see it. Yeah, I think it's a derogatory statement towards, it can be, and then at the same time it's like, well, I see it both ways. But it's like you push us far enough, that's what you're gonna get, And so that was I think it's 2022 was the last release. And I've been writing and doing all the songwriter stuff. And my record label, I just found out 2 days ago, dropped me. And I wouldn't call them so much a label anymore. They're more just distribution. And so I know that they were trimming the fat on people that weren't out, really going and touring like they were and stuff like that and pushing the music. And so I noticed I was like, my stuff's off iTunes. It's not, anywhere except I think Pandora, and I think my station on Spotify still exists. And so they sent me an email with all the metadata and all that. And so I just got to put it up. That's all. It's supposedly once I put it back up, or once I put it in, and whoever I go with, like TuneCore, something like that, then it launches right back in. It's so.
Yeah, because I was looking on, I use TikTok for some of the ads that I make, or for the majority of the ads I make. And so I was looking for your music on there. I was like,
all of a sudden it's not there. Yeah. I saw it. Yeah. I was yeah. And so, it's kind of one of those things where they sent me the email. I want to say it was like in February. And they sent it to the wrong email. They didn't even send my updated information that they had. So,
They said, he'll get it when he gets it. He'll find out.
Yeah. And so, it just kind of lets me know what, direction I need to head and what direction they're probably headed. So, it is what it is.
All of us is a segue into acting, right? And so now you have some. We just saw an awesome trailer. Can you tell us a little bit about the trailer that we just watched?
That was from a piece that I wrote when I was touring a lot, and it was probably last year. And there was we toured out west a lot. Like, I mean, I think I did 6 or 7 West Coast tours in 2 years, and that's along with going through Oklahoma, Texas, South Dakota, North Dakota, up north, and east and whatever. But I noticed that there was more. It seemed like we would hear more about the kidnappings on the reservations, more so out in New Mexico and Arizona and part of California. And it was just all the time. I mean, it was like every time we were out there, something like that was happening, and going out and coming back, And so it was just, and then, it was crazy because like a couple of times we were going out there and hearing about, little girls getting taken, little kids getting taken, women getting taken. And then on the way back, like 3 weeks later, we'd find out, oh, they found the body, and a couple of them had cartel markings, or not so much cartel markings, but gang markings, because I know how they work. They have a lot of mules that will go in and do their dirty work, so the, whatever gang that they, associate with or affiliate with or pay off to go kidnap and then bring it to them. And so it's a dirty, it's a dirty business. And so I couldn't figure out why our federal government, which, it's federal government, was letting it happen. And, I'd already known about all this stuff growing up, but it just seemed like it just kept getting worse and worse, and it's continually gotten worse with the, with the kidnappings and all that kind of stuff. And, it seems like
the ones who are in charge of looking that up is actually looking into that is the FBI. The FBI has a lack of concern. They don't really care, even on the reservation, it's a big problem, but we're right up to the mountains. And so they all get labeled as missing persons.
Oh, that's it. And even if they even get that, I mean, that's the thing is it's like, how many of them back in the, before social media and before, natives could even have any little bit of a voice, got that. And so that's where that came from, because I talked to my friend Pete Sands. I don't know if you know Pete, but he's a really cool guy, really great native artist, filmmaker, singer, songwriter. The guy's super talented, and we'd spoke briefly like during COVID because he was doing so much around that time, and helping with his people, getting them, firewood, groceries, stuff like that. And he was like, man, it just seems like that it's just a smokescreen no matter what anybody says or does for him, other than us. I mean, it's like, the feds, no matter what, will be like, we got a task force and we're on our way. And then it's like 3 months later, where to go? I know. Oh, well, such and such got elected, so we got to go through a different process. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of BS. And I mean, I wish I'm going to try and control my language as much as possible here. And, it's something that it's kind of like I get really, really emotional and really, I guess, angry. And, I've gone after people like, when I've talked about it, and it seems like when they're not native, and did you unmute me?
Yeah, I don't know how you got muted. I was like, well, that's kind of
odd. I wasn't cussing, I swear. But no, it seems like when you come from like a native community and it's a native stronghold, about it more. And it seems like the folks that are totally in the dark about this issue, they don't know it exists and they don't know how bad it is. And until it is presented at their doorstep, I don't know. I mean, I've had several actors that are A-list actors reach out to me, wanting to help. Mira Sorvino was one of them, and I don't know if she's still, that was like, I think about 10 months ago. And so I know she had her own project all of a sudden that she had to do. And so I don't know, who all's still willing to jump in on the film side of it. There's just I really hope we do get some attention with it. I think it's an excellent put together trailer that a good friend of mine, Noah Christian, helped do. And
yeah, I'm willing to help out any way I can, man.
Okay.
It's something that I'm interested in as well too.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the one thing that's like, we just now, honestly, I entered it in the Billy the Kid Film Festival this past year, and which is a very cool film festival. And they played it on the, I guess it was on the shorts, because that's what it would go under. And we, a lot of the people that were there was only a few younger folks. So it was like mainly older white people that were there, and at that time that they screened it. And so a lot of them were like, I can't believe they're cussing in this. What is this trash? This is violent. Blah, 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 blah. And then when the person showing the films brought us up to talk about the film, and I explained it, it was a total change of tune.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of one of those things to where I want it to, just even with the spec trailer, I wanted to get the awareness out, but I wanted people to think, what would you do? What would you do if somebody came to your, house and took your kid, and took your wife, whatever, are you just going to wait for the feds? Are you just going to wait for the cops, that aren't going to show up because you're, of a certain race?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I think that's what we deal with. I mean, I know that's what we deal with, and there's just no getting around it. And so I know I talked to the Cherokee Nation Film Office, because that's my tribe. And because they all of a sudden were like, we're ready to go. We're, Native Film Office, here we go, and I know that they had backed, I guess it was Heather Hay, on a film. So I figured, hey, we'd reach out to them. And so that was the first people we reached out to. And unfortunately it didn't go like I thought. And so they I don't think they're going to be backing any films like right now, or any productions. I think it's just more there to use. They said that we could get a tax break on it for using the studio and a discount, but I mean, it is what it is. So I talked to one of my relatives, or a couple of my relatives that are in film up there. And I said, look, I'm not put off by this. I've got projects coming up. Let's just find a different avenue. Mm-hmm. I don't want to stop here. Isn't it, just because, and I told him, I said, we don't know what the discount is, first off. That discount could be, major. And that'd be something that we can really use for big stunts, big scenes, everything. And so if we need to, hold off on getting the right producers for the film, because I talked to one of my managers who was working for me, and he got me in touch with Brian Slagle from he owns gosh, what's it called? Metal Blade. Okay. They're responsible for putting out Slayer, early Metallica. They've got it all. I mean, all the cool metal, all the cool rock. And I met with Brian this past year, and we all sat down, had lunch, and in Dallas. And he was like, what can I do? Because we were already about 3/4 done shooting the trailer, and we didn't want to use any music that was, that could be held off for a little bit, take it by surprise, let's see if we can get this thing made first. And so he offered basically the catalog of Metal Blade for rights to use music, and that's huge. People don't realize, like, that's millions of dollars that could be at your fingertips to use cool tunes with, or collaborate with artists, to do a video with, promote the film and all that. And so we do have that. And I know that my manager there, Roger, is connected a lot in Hollywood with different agents, different people that are very important. So, we'll see. We'll go back to it. Like, I already talked to him. I said, hey, man, I'm about ready to go back on this deal. I'm on a film right now. We're in production already on that, on a film called Knucklehead. And then John had hit me up and let me know that his productions are coming and to get ready. And so I said, well, since that's coming along, let's go ahead and start seeing what we can do. Start seeing, let's build a team and start getting native actors that are interested. Start getting, people that are legitimately interested in being in this and working with us, and see what we can come up with. And because I told my manager, I said, there might be a time where we have 3 months off or 4 months off, to where we can jump on this once we have everybody in place and really go at it and get it done, or get most of it done, or get the majority of the filming that we really need. And so it's definitely in the swing of things now. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much, honestly, I love to write, whether it's stuff like that, whether it's horror, whether it's mystery, funny, comedy, I don't want to limit myself. So,
Nice. That's pretty awesome, man. It's really cool that you're highlighting these issues too, because I was in another film that's going to be coming out, being released this year sometime, called The American Coyote, and it kind of touched on it a bit. But it's a movie about sex trafficking,
Right.
and so and some of the cartels as well, and their involvement into it, and some the reservations a little bit. It has some other actors in it, like Kiki Suki, who's indigenous and Japanese descent. And I was in it. I played one of the indigenous men in it as well too. That had a pretty cool little scene in it. So any way that I can help out, it's definitely something that I feel passionate about as well. Because that is a big concern. Because we are, per volume, the highest population that goes missing, and that's why MMIW exists, or MMIP. Here in Texas, we have MMIW Remagistrate Texas. And that's a group that's dedicated to missing indigenous people as well, and they also put out their alerts for local indigenous people as well as people from other states.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely good to see that it's an issue that's finally being brought to light.
Yeah, no, and I think that it's one of those things where, if we leave it up to the powers that be, okay, if we leave it up to the government, and we leave it up to these actors that are in Hollywood and stuff, you might get we're concerned, okay, but you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get. It's not going to get real awareness, and I don't think it's going to get real awareness until we force it down their throats. That's me. I'm radical when it comes to a lot of stuff, and I think that natives don't need to be, ever told what to do, ever, as far as a lot, like all that, political stuff goes. I believe that natives need a free mind, and that's something that we used to have, and I think that, we've been kept down and kept on reservations and kind of told to be, quiet about our opinions and stuff. And so now, it's like I mean, I'm sick of it. You know, I mean, that's what it comes down to. Is it's like we've gotten to this point to where how have we let our kids be unsafe to go play out in the yards? You know, I mean, or just be kids. You know, how have we gotten there? And the government wants us just to rely on them, you know, to take care of it. And I don't believe that. I think that there's enough of us now to where, you know, maybe we do go werewolf, maybe we do go rogue and lash out against, you know, cartel and all the people that are bad, you know, like that, and start making examples of them, you know.
And what it is that, you know, because of the defeated mentality, that makes any sense. You know, whenever they put us on the reservation, they put a mentality of defeat, and it saw out. You know, that the medical system wasn't there. You know, they got everybody addicted to opiates, addicted to alcohol, addicted to all sorts of different drugs, a cocktail of
it was totally by
drugs.
You're totally, I
And
mean, right. You know, I mean, and it's something that has happened, you know, since, well, I mean, like I said, I mean, it was by design, and they knew what they were doing. You know, they've done it to different, you know, people throughout history and here, you know, in different communities. And, you know, we go and, you know, day to day, we live our lives, and it's easy to just keep going straight forward and letting it happen, you know. And that's where it's like enough's enough, you know. The awareness needs to be out there. And here's my thing is, it's like with film, we have a chance to, you know, bring it to the forefront. You know, I mean, I'm sure that we're going to catch backlash and we're going to catch whatever, you know, people say, or, you know, streaming, you know, oh, it's too violent, or, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that, or, you know, stuff like that. You know, I mean, I'm sure, you know, something will try and stop it, someone, you know. But if we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and doing whatever needs to be done to get it there in front of people's faces and make it cool, you know. I mean, if it's something that, like, that's one thing that, you know, the guy that I worked with on that short, you know, he's a genius, dude. I mean, the guy's amazing, great filmmaker. But I wouldn't let him stop. Like, no, I look stupid, you know, let's do something. No, let's do something else. We need this angle, we need that angle. And, you know, he just kind of just basically was like, okay, I'm going to do what I want, and I'm going to kick it up a notch, you know. And then that's when you saw that real creativity side, you know, go. And then it was boom, we blended really well. And I think that it's like the rugged films. That's why I like certain film companies, you know, Robert Rodriguez, you know, some of Tarantino stuff that is real rugged, which is quite a bit. A24 films, stuff like that, you know, that has gotten that big mainstream push. And I think that they take time on their acting, they take time on the scenes, they take time on, you know, bringing a, you know, it might look kind of staticky or rough and whatever, but the acting is there, the storytelling is there. They've really taken time on it, and that's something that I really appreciate. And I really hope that, you know, natives really take it serious. I hope that they keep on and everything. So I really am looking forward to just more ventures in film, man. You know, I mean, getting the word out there for this, but then other stuff too, you know. You know, people don't think that natives can make it in the real world. And that's the problem that I have, that it's like, oh, you can't make it in mainstream, you know. And you face that, especially with music, big time, you know, country music. I was told so many times, and still am being told, that, you know, country music just, you know, natives aren't supposed to be in country music. And, you know, and it's one of those things to where I'm like, well, cool, you know, whatever. Yeah, you know, and that's one of those things where you just got to keep on pushing, you know, and do what your heart says and what you know, believe, you know, don't give up, you know, just because somebody, you know, says something, you know, not everybody's gonna like you, you know.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I always say. You know, if everybody likes you, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, it's like, dude, I've been getting hate mail since I started playing music and getting into film, you know, and it's usually just people that are jealous. I mean, that's, you know, you're doing something big whenever you get into entertainment, you know, and I know that you've probably seen it and other natives have seen it. When you get into entertainment that leads you into a mainstream, okay, you're going to have a lot of haters. You know, I had some guy tell me a couple weeks ago that I was never going to do anything, right? I was never going to do anything, blah, blah, blah. And like, man, I've been to the CMAs. I was up for a CMA for 2 years, okay? The Country Music Awards, early nominations for a Grammy, okay? Hey, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but to me, that was something. That was something cool, you know, just to get invited, okay? And I'm fine by not, you know, I mean, if that was it, then that was it. But the guy told me, he's like, man, you're never going to be anything or never do anything. And this guy is just a normal dude, right? And told me I was stupid because I was a background actor for a couple films, that was nothing, okay? And just really tried to rip into me, right? And it was one of those things where I was like, man, what a sad human being. You know, what a sad human being. And that's just what I told him. I was like, dude, you're nothing, bro. I was like, you know, you got, you know, that's something that it's like, you know, people don't understand. Bruce Willis started out as background, you know, look where he went. You know, Tom Cruise was background on Young Guns. People don't realize that. And he was already a superstar. And he just wanted to be in the film, you know, he just wanted to be part of it. And so that's kind of one of those things where, you know, I think my lucky stars that I've gotten cast for stuff that's background, you know, and people, a lot of people don't understand when they cast for background, they don't cast just anybody, you know, especially on big productions. They're going for certain looks to where they may need somebody to pull up to that camera line, you know, and if you don't have that blend of, you know, it could be everyday white guy, you know, and if you don't have that, well, you're not going to get pulled up, you know. If they want someone that looks a little unique in something, you know, they're going to, you know, ask for that. And so I don't think a lot of people that sit around and watch TV, because everyone does, no matter what they say, understand that what really goes into it, you know.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, and I started off in background as well too, and I've been you can actually see me in the background behind either main characters or by main characters, or like super close up on the screen. I was, you know, seen on Bass Reeves, which was my first project.
Yeah.
And I was also seen on Landman, the first season. I was seen in a couple of episodes on that one as well, and I was seen in 1923, season 2 of 1923. I was visible there. You know, there's been a lot of projects that I'd been on that started off as background where I'm still visible.
Yeah.
And you know, I've gone into some speaking roles now, which is actually really, really cool. You know, it's a process of moving up. You know, Taylor Sheridan, as you said, you know, Taylor Sheridan was a background actor for a while.
Yeah.
And Vin Diesel, you know, people don't realize that he was at Saving Private Ryan. He had like one line.
Oh yeah, dude. And that's, you know, it's not just that. I mean, just them. I mean, you look at Brad Pitt, and one of my acting coaches was in acting classes with Brad coming up, and his name's Sean Kanan. Great guy, good acting coach. He has seminars and stuff like that, and they're not that expensive. And he was sharing a story that, you know, Brad couldn't get cast in anything. He was going to tons of casting calls, wouldn't get callbacks, wouldn't get anything. Like, you know, they were like just telling him all sorts of stuff. And he finally got in a movie with, I want to say it's Charlie Sheen and Juliana Moore. And he finally got a background spot. And he was a waiter. And All he's supposed to do is walk up to Julianne Moore. She walks up to him kind of mutually, and he has a glass of champagne, and he's supposed to hand it to her, kind of, thank you, or, thank you, and then walk off. That's it. And he took it upon himself to try and add a line in there while they were filming, which is, anybody that's ever been on a set like that knows, no. And he was like, would you like anything else, ma'am? And the director's like, cut, starts freaking out, because just with that right there, they got to change his contract, and that could potentially cost them, thousands upon thousands of dollars down the road, especially when they go to release. And that guy's not SAG. He doesn't have the SAG contract. It's a lot of legal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess like his acting coach had pulled him in because it got around, and pretty quick, or they called her, and she was like, if you ever do that again, I'll never work with you. You cannot do that. And so Brad was pretty set on being done. And that was, he was pretty much set on just moving back home. And then all of a sudden it happened. And just think what the world would have missed out on had he had just given up, what he would have missed out on, I mean, so it's like everyone starts out in background, dude. You rarely find anybody that just all of a sudden is superstar, I mean, it's like, dude, that's, background's cool, dude. You learn a lot of stuff. If you're in it for film, if you're truly in it for film and to learn and to get into it, go do it, because the timing is now, but a lot of people don't understand that that's how it's done, and you got to take that step, so I've had a blast through it all. And like you said, with getting speaking roles and, all that kind of stuff, and seeing the careers go and meeting more people that are like-minded, and stuff, it's a really great thing. I've made some wonderful friends that I'll probably have the rest of my life, and I really love it. I mean, to me, it's a lot different than music. Okay. I love film, because if they're looking to cast someone that looks like you, looks like me, looks like, a guy that's got, blonde hair and, is Chad from a fraternity, that is supposed to look like that, they're going to cast him for that look. They're going to cast you for a look. They're going to cast me for a certain look. It's different for everyone, I mean, it's just, that's the thing. And to me, it's like you're competing against your best take, your best quality that you could throw out there. I can definitely say that at first, when I was submitting my self-tapes, and I don't know if you did this, but I did this, but I was like so worried of what they want, what should I wear for the self-tape? What should I, how should I fix my hair for this self-tape? And then finally, I was just like, dude, I don't care. I'm just going to do whatever I do. Throw a shirt on, fix my hair, make sure I don't look like, I just woke up, and just do my best and deliver my best the way it should be. And if that's not what they're looking for, it's not what they're looking for, and then move on to the next one. And we'll see, I mean, it's all you can do.
For sure.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was like, for me, what I like to do is I'm like, okay, I have my first thought that comes to mind, and I'm like, okay, let me change it up a little bit. So I think about things that I can do different. So like I come at it a little bit more of a strategy point of view, And so like I may do a couple of takes, but I'll do it like a different accent, or I'll change the pitch or the volume of my voice, and just depending on what it is. And so but I try to figure out what the character is. Now, at first I was just kind of going along, just doing it the way that it was. But then after a while, I watched some YouTube videos and kind of gave me a little bit of tips. And then I've taken a couple of workshops, like I was saying, and they've been helping me with, going to different feelings of, feeling yourself as the character. What are you feeling? What is this character feeling? Character sense. And so whenever I'd go back to do it again, I would start going into it like, if it was hot, I'm like, I feel the heat back here, so I'd go into that and start feeling the heat, and then next thing I'm knowing, I'm back in the character.
Right.
And so it's some techniques that I've learned that it's been very helpful.
Yeah.
And it's really cool on how to do it. It's just a different level of storytelling, and I love telling stories. I love being part of the stories now.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a big thing in our culture too. And so many other cultures as well. I won't just limit to Native culture, even though that's, we didn't have a lot of books, so that's kind of one of those things to where it's like, the storytelling that's passed down and everything, that's part of our culture and that's part of who we are. And I think that you're correct, that film and being part of that is definitely something that's in our DNA and so
yeah.
What
speaking of looks, I have to ask you this. I said, speaking of looks, I have to ask you this. Does anybody ever tell you that you look like Jason Momoa?
Oh yeah. I do. Yeah, I've gotten that, and it's one of those things to where like we've actually met, and he seemed to be a nice fellow. Met him a couple times, and we had mutual friends and mutual contacts and stuff like that. And it's kind of one of those things to where I don't know how much I would attribute, getting asked to play Attila the Hun to him, or because of him. But that's definitely something it's a cool, unique look. It does run in our family though, like my family that has like we have like the same like kind of brow and eyes and stuff. And so I don't know, we could be related. I mean, you never know. But yeah, that's something, and it's funny because like I've actually like done, like I've joked around doing stand-up before, and I don't really, it's not a passion of mine, but I've gotten up there, a time or two, a few years ago, and it's always funny because like I'll be like, I'm just minding my own business, and a group of girls or something will be like, oh my God, he looks just like Jason Momoa. And then one of them will be like, yeah, from Wish. and so, and it's always the girl that like I wouldn't talk to if you paid.
The rude one.
Yeah. One that like is the outcast of the friends that always makes that comment. And so I don't even, at first I was like, the first time I've heard it, I was like, just like put my head down like, oh, it's so embarrassing, dude. I'm like the ugly twin. And then I'm like, you know what, dude? I mean, I wouldn't even talk to that girl. So it doesn't even matter. And but yeah, it's a cool thing. I mean, it could be worse, it could be like Woody Allen. But I did hear that like Benicio del Toro started getting offers because of Brad Pitt, because they have a similar like facial resemblance. And then I started looking at some other celebrities that looked similar, like McConaughey to Woody Harrelson, and stuff like that. And so I think it's cool, I mean, Jason's, trying to do the musician thing more now. And I mean, it's kind of on to say they run hand in hand, they run, together. And so you meet so many people that are actors that used to be in bands, Billy Bob Thornton. I got to talk to him. Yeah. I got to talk to him on 1883, and we did a full scene together. And afterwards, we were just outside on the porch or on the sidewalk talking. And he was like, yeah, I really only wanted to do this stuff to fund my band. And that's all that's why I really, I love acting, but, I love playing music, and we were talking about music and stuff. And it was really cool to, he was like, if you, you might use this, to take that avenue to fund your band and, go at it like that. And so that's one thing that I've, think too is that's definitely possible. Just kind of let them run hand in hand.
That is awesome. And yeah, that's why, whenever I bring up today's entertainers, I wanted to include musicians into it because you guys are entertainers as well.
Yeah.
Y'all bring in the music. And so, which is the rhythm.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is I think that being a musician, singer, songwriter, you're already writing. So you already have ideas, for things, you can't, I mean, I write most stuff I do write is what I've done, in the past and what I've lived, what I've seen, what I know of somebody, or something's happened really. And then sometimes it's not,
Yeah.
and it's storytelling through that. And so, the playing in front of a lot of people, I got used to from just going down the road, pounding it, it was just like, I mean, now people are like, are you ever nervous when you get up there? And I'm like, no, never nervous, dude, and I remember when I first started out, I mean, I was just like, teeth chattering, can barely sing and play, which was crazy because I've been playing forever. And, after about probably 15, 20 shows, it just became like nothing. And when I started acting and started doing that kind of stuff and, doing lines, reading lines and all that, it was easy for me to memorize. More so because I looked at it like songwriting and then also learning songs.
Yeah.
And using like the fourth wall.
That's cool.
I don't even look at people. I mean, like out in the crowd and stuff, most of the time now it's like, yeah, they're there and I hope everyone's having a good time and I like interacting, but I don't let that spook me. It's kind of like, when you use the fourth wall and you're acting, and it's like you pretend, what is your fourth wall? What is it going to be to make it feel easy, to transition you into that scene. Like if you're in a hospital room, and it's the nurse's station.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I mean, that's just,
We actually had that question too. It says, where do you study acting classes?
Where do I study? I study with Sean Kanan. If anybody's familiar with Sean Kanan, he is on Bold and the Beautiful, plays Deacon. He also was the main bad guy in Karate Kid 3. And he's also in Cobra Kai in seasons 5 and 6. He's been in a lot of things, but he does offer acting classes, workshops, the whole thing. I've learned so much from him. And I take notes and I get notes from him and I go up and down, work on self-tapes, hit, play and erase, work on camera angles of where, your face looks best or how you're delivering, and stuff, what looks more believable. That's all part of acting. People don't realize, dude, that's all part of it, man. And you can't just say, there's so many people that, you see productions where maybe they didn't take time on getting the right people or coaching them through. And they get in front of a camera and they're like, just a straight up piece of cardboard, talking. And you're like, what the? And I mean, I've seen it in productions that are pretty big now, I've seen it in productions that are on Paramount and different things to where you're like, how did they get, who let that slip through? That doesn't even look, the guy doesn't even look real talking, And so you learn a lot, like just from doing the little things and working on your craft, and you don't, I mean, that's the thing is it's like there's, actors workshops everywhere. There's some that are free. There's some that, I've seen being offered for free. Tom Sizemore. I did one with Tom before he passed away.
Yeah.
And it was right when he passed away. And I got to become friends with Tom because of the whole Jason Momoa look, because he played his dad on a TV show called The Red Road. And we got to talking on Twitter before it turned to X. And then he came and saw us play at the Viper Room, and you know, he wasn't partying or nothing like that. He's like, I mean, he's a super cool guy. And then we just kind of kept in contact. And then when he started doing his workshops and stuff out there in LA and offering to, you know, work with folks, I took him up on it, and it was right before he passed. But taking everything from them, any type of notes. I got a friend of mine that's supposed to start doing it, and I told him I'd help him get it set up because I think he would kill it. His name's Andrew Bernersky. He's kind of taking a break from acting. He played Latimer in The Program, if you remember The Program, with James Caan and Omar Epps and them. And then he played in Any Given Sunday. He's played in a ton of films. He played Leatherface, you know, in the new stuff, in the Michael Bay Chainsaw movies.
Okay.
He is a super talented guy. He also played Zangief in Street Fighter, but he played Christopher Walken's son in Batman Returns. He's been in a ton. Okay, and he has expressed a lot of interest in doing acting lessons and getting, you know, himself back into the game, but helping people along because he is really good. He's been in my hotel room when we're on tour in California, and he had a read for Marvel's what was it, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, okay.
He was going for a big read for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a big character.
Nice.
And so he was doing trading lines with my cousin Donnie and me. And you know, when that was before I got into acting, and so I was just like, you know, so today, sir, how are you going to bowl? You know, so it was real great. You know, I was just trying to read, you know, and he was, I mean, that was working with a pro, because it was like seeing him on TV and how he delivers on TV. And I don't know whatever happened with that, you know, but he's always been, you know, up there.
That is awesome. You know, I would love to, you know, learn from him, because I'm always looking for somebody who's, you know, been doing it for a while. I like to learn from people who are doing it, you know, people who have been successful in the industry and are very believable. And so that's stuff that I like to do, because I see it as part of improving myself. And not only that, you know, I'd like to have him on here. He starts getting it going and help him promote it as well.
Yeah, like that's the one thing that, like I told him, I said, man, I'll talk to some folks, because he's always on social media. He's always online. And he just doesn't really know like the whole Zoom thing and how to because he was like, you know, I mean, like I told him, I said, don't charge an arm and a leg, but if you charge it priceable for actors, because you were, you know, he's one of the few exceptions, okay, of somebody that was walking down the street and was like, hey, you want to be in a movie? And he had gone out to LA, and he can probably tell you the story better than me, but he went out to LA to see a friend of his, and he was bodybuilding. And I think Andrew was like 19 or 20 at the time. And the dude already looked like, you know, amazing. I mean, the guy's genetics are insane. And was walking down, I guess it was Sunset or Hollywood Boulevard, one of those. And somebody saw him, was like, hey, you know, are you into acting? And conversation led one thing to another, but he ended up getting cast. I think it was pretty much right there, or pretty quick, in Hudson Hawk with Bruce Willis, and had a great role in Hudson Hawk. And then from there, it was Necessary Roughness, I believe, with the guy that played in Quantum Leap at the time, Sinbad, Jason Bateman, all these big famous people at that time. Kelly, or Ireland, whatever her name was, the model back then.
Ireland.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we all have a poster on the wall. But yeah, and that was the guy that really, you know, kind of just, you know, it happened for him like that. But he, as far as auditions and stuff, you know, the guy still had to, you know, learn how to do it and put his time in and really shape his craft, because all of a sudden he was a lead character in bigger films. Yeah, he would be great to talk to and to learn from, because that's like you said, if you're going to learn from people, it's better to learn from the ones that have been there and done that and everything. And so, because I do find that in the entertainment business, there's people anywhere that'll lead you astray, or it may just be in it to collect a check.
And that's true. I mean, not so long back, I had a run in with another Indigenous actor that I was kind of, I was like, hey, this guy's gonna be pretty cool. Maybe I get to work with him sometime. I was kind of excited because he was in a couple of really big movies, and it was kind of a letdown because he ended up being kind of like more like I'm not naming any names or anything, but he was a pretty well known actor for a while. But it ended up being a bit of a letdown because he ended up being into it for himself, causing a lot of chaos with me and my family, stuff like that. And he's not even in the country. And it was mostly, I was excited because we had the same agent. And, they brought him out there and they told me a whole lot of crazy stuff that he was doing. And I was like, okay, I believe it based on my interaction with him. And it kind of sucked because, he was out for himself, and I was like, man, we're supposed to be representing Indigenous culture. We can't be showing this kind of separation, can't be showing that kind of chaos on set, especially representing, because if you're gonna go by which he was going by an Indigenous last name that wasn't his legal last name. I don't know if he was I don't know, maybe he was going through some stuff, which I believe he was, but it turned out to be a bit like big letdown.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what you were saying, cut out.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But
how's your signal? Because it's showing that Will said that you're a little choppy right now.
It could be choppy. I mean, it's kind of cruddy at nighttime up here. I can actually log off my Wi-Fi, and I'd probably get better.
Okay.
If you want me to do that.
You can do that. You might need to refresh your page whenever that happens, though. Just a heads up, okay?
And so, router.
What's that? Well,
we just did this. City of Georgetown, really, this company Optum sucks.
Oh, I think we've lost you pretty well there, man.
All right. Let me see what I can do here.
Let's give him 1 second.
Okay, with me. I'm gonna just knock off the internet here because I get better on just my 5G. It seems like.
Okay.
It's just up here, like see it now, but it's like choppy here in the evening time. You want me to just pull off my Wi-Fi? I get good service on my 5G. If you want, I can try that.
Yeah, go ahead and give it a shot. It might need to, like I said, it might make you reload your page, though. Okay.
Let's see.
I
Let's
can
try
hear you better.
update too. Yeah, here.
We give him a minute. He's probably just had to reload it because a lot of times I notice that whenever you turn off your Wi-Fi and go to your 5G, it makes you reload the page and then goes back. Oh, it's back with us.
Yeah.
Oh, much better.
Yeah. I figured it out because like I mean, like in the evening time, I'm a homebody guy and I'll usually be watching TV or a movie or something like that, and I'm like, it'll always start sticking on me or something like that. So it's just something that Optimum, I don't know if they lessen the signal strengths at night up here or something. It just does not make any sense at all, because during the daytime it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, but back to the representing and stuff in our culture and everything. I do feel you on that. It's like when you meet, like I met people my whole life, like celebrities, like that, sports figures and stuff like that, you know, that are, you're like, oh, you put them up on a pedestal and then you go meet them in real life. And it's like, you know, take your autograph and get away from me, kid, you know, or how much you going to pay me, you know? It's like stuff like that. It's like, I never want to, I honestly, if I was to become, you know, famous or some stuff like that, I would never want to be that kind of person, you know? And that's, to me, when I'm on set or just in anything, because you see it a lot in music, okay? You see a lot of it in music, and it's one of those things to where a lot of the top guys and girls that you meet, a lot of times are the nicest. And then when you meet like the agents and the managers and the people like that, they're cruddy. But in music coming up, it's a real cutthroat thing, because it's like, it's almost like, you know, hey, can you help me out here and get into this venue, bro? And you're like, yeah, sure, you know, and I need to get into this one that you're playing. Well, I don't know if they'll have you. And it's like, fuck you, dude. Oh, sorry. You know, it's like, you know, just, it's like, come on. I mean, why would you, you know, it's like, I mean, I'll help anybody out, but I mean, it's like, if I, you know, need some help too, you know, I mean, I at least appreciate like yeah, let me get you in touch with the owner or something like that, you know? Not the, you know, giving me the Heisman straight up, you know? It's like
they're being gatekeepers.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you straight up, and the music world is full of them, but also in film, I found it more welcoming. But I did find that when I did get into film and things started going better or well, a lot of those people, the musicians and stuff, were all of a sudden, hey, man, I need to be in film too. My girlfriend said I would be great. And it's like, cool, you know, let her start a production company and put you in it. And, you know, but yeah, man, when it comes to like the native stuff, man, I've always just, you know, whatever I could do, you know, if I'm working on a project and it doesn't pay and someone wants on it, I'm going to tell them, hey, don't pay. It's for free. It's going to, you know, it'll be on, you know, streaming, or it'll go here and there on that platform, but no one's getting paid on this deal, just to give you a heads up, but I can get you in. Best I can do, you know, and if it does pay, hey, here's who you send your stuff to. I'll tell them you sent your stuff in. You know, most of the time that's how that works. Or if they're looking, you know, and I can give them a direct shout if I get to go ahead to do that, you know, because a lot of times casting people, they will want you to send them to them and not be a middleman, you know, and that's, you know, but I have, and Stephanie Lenz from Legacy will tell you, like, because they were looking for people, and I just started sending like everybody I knew that wanted to do it, and you know, hey, get a hold of her, get a hold of her, get a hold of her, and you know, a lot of people did, you know, and so I just don't see it as like, I don't know if people see it as a competition thing, you know, or like they got to have an ego. And I've met one of my heroes that was a country music singer songwriter, was #1. Guy was huge at one time, and it was like he wanted to have a, you know, he wanted to have a contest of, you know, who's doing what better, you know, and it's like, I'm here to see you because I look up to you, you know, no matter what I'm doing, I look up to you and always have. You don't have to tell me and my date or whoever I'm with how great you are when I already know it, you know, and I'm looking up to you, and I'm, you know, it's like, that's what I just never, I don't get. And I mean, people have bad days, and that was another thing, like you said, one of his managers, because I'm vocal about it, you know, his manager at the time told me, I think he would had a little too much to drink that night. I don't care, you know, and neither should he. I mean, he should care, but it's like, dude, that's not an excuse, you know. Yeah, that's one of those things where maybe you shouldn't drink then, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I hate that happened to you, you know.
It happens, you know, and it was just not something that I expected. I mean, I kind of expected other people to, you know, some people, there are some people that are like that, but I just didn't expect it at that point because everything seemed so friendly up front, you know?
Yeah.
And it kind of ambushed me on the side. But what don't realize, and this is something that he told me, he said, I don't like to label myself. I'm not a Native American actor or indigenous actor. And I'm like, you're an actor who's indigenous, of course. However, the thing is that whenever you're going out and you're under indigenous name or people know of your indigenous origins or you're claiming it, well, guess what? You represent the culture
That's
according
right.
to the medias. And so you got to prepare yourself and be knowledgeable on it because if you go out there and you make, you know, you're at risk of making our
Yeah.
people in general look like fools or
Oh,
look like idiots. And so, you know, just being indigenous and in the media, you are representative whether you like it or not.
yeah, and that's an honor, man. I mean, because you know, you look at it like this: we weren't supposed to be in this industry ever. I don't think Hollywood really wanted us in this industry. You know, I know Nashville don't. That's back, dude.
Now it's like a spotlight that's been put on indigenous actors. You know, I
Yeah,
mean,
and that,
even up was like most people don't know that Redbone was an indigenous band.
yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah. They're the OGs, man. They're the ones that you see all the ladies leaving happy hour singing that song, come and get your love, and they don't realize that it's Redbone's an indigenous band, and that's one of the. I think that as far as like native bands and musicians and stuff, there hasn't been just a ton, compared to other cultures and races and stuff like that. I mean, there's tons of us out there doing it, but no one really spotlights that, and so whenever you're on the screen or on the stage, any type of platform like that, you really need to me, it's like, honor your elders and the ones that paid the price. Okay. The ones that got shipped away from their lands, away from their families, to the boarding schools, and even before that, kicked off their lands and killed and, tortured. I mean, it's like, dude, our people went through sheer hell. Okay. And I don't care what Joe Rogan or any of them say about us fighting in between each other, because to me, he did try and sell that narrative.
yeah.
I
And
listened
here's the thing is that we have ways of dealing with it outside of war. That's actually why I push on Capuchin Tole as well, or Choctaw Stickball. It wasn't part of my culture. However, we had other ways of dealing with things. However, down in this area, and especially in the Mississippi area, you had the Choctaw, the Cherokee, the Southern bands and all that. And what they would do was they would go against each other. They would send their best warriors out, and it was cool to see it in echo a little bit. But they would come out and they would play a game of stickball, which was pretty violent. However, they weren't out there with the goal of, hey, I'm going to kill this tribe or that tribe, to steal horses, to steal women, to steal, to take over a land dispute. It was, hey, let's go out there, let's settle this over a game of Choctaw Stickball or Capuchin Tole, Little Brother of War, And so that's why I push it. And even over here in the DFW area, I play with DFW Capuchin Tole, or Little Brother of War, and it's definitely something that I'm trying to bring attention to as well, and to show people that, hey, we can still reconnect and we can still go over it. People don't know that they got lacrosse from Capuchin Tole, or Choctaw Stickball.
Yeah, no, dude. I mean, that's one of those things to where, a lot of people do have that misconception of, well, they were at war with each other, so they were killing each other. No, that's not always the case. Okay. Like, that was the thing, is it's like, dude, like with the stickball and all that. And, it's just, it's not taking enough time to learn about the culture of what they were actually doing. And I think that, a lot of people push that narrative onto natives, or not so much narrative, but it's a false knowledge of our cultures, okay? Because we weren't all at battle, okay? That's the other thing is it's like, I think they've watched Mel Gibson's Apocalypto too many times. And that they think, oh, well, if it wasn't for us from Europe and reading the Euro Bible, they would still all be savages. See, they don't realize that there was actual books written by different conquistadors and travelers that say, oh, we encountered the tribe of such and such along such and such river, and they had silk fabric materials, and they had, a working agricultural system. See, that's all been left out. And
that's why I like to push the American Indian Native Studies for that curriculum to be passed here in Texas, especially. Should be taught all over the place, but the petition that we have up is for us, particularly here in Texas, because the school down there in Austin, out closer to you in that area, they're wanting to include it into their curriculum. However, it's up for vote. Over here in Grand Prairie, if it's not voted to be back in, then it's going to be, it's going to be left out next year. And we have to the end of this year to sign the petition. So that's why I push that,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is people need to understand, the different Native studies, the different Native cultures, how they used to do things, how our federal government system, at first, I mean, to me, the basis was the, Iroquois Confederation, and how that was all set up, was based on a Native American belief and culture. Now, where it's gone, that's another, subject. But not all natives. That's what I try and tell people. And I got kind of, so much thrown under the bus by a bunch of white hippies here, and close to Austin, was during during COVID, and I would tell people, hey, whether what you believe it's really going down or not, keep your mind open to the U.S. government and what they've done to other people, to the tribes and things like that, and were you a scientist? No, dude, but I learned from my elders and what happened to them. And, it's kind of one of those things to where whenever you learn about different cultures and what they've seen, what they believe, and, it's all part of our Native studies, and that's something that I think to me, I know if it's properly taught in school that you're not going to have the ignorance of so many now. That's the other thing is it's like, you have so much, ignorance of, I'm Native and, people saying that, and well, I'm part of this tribe and we, and then they have no clue what they're talking about. And so,
sorry, man. I just want to say, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. We are kind of going a lot longer than we usually go, but I what I want to do is whenever I get everything going for like night show setup, I'd definitely like to bring you on a physical stage as well to come in and talk about maybe even at the end of the show, since we have you on as a guest, you can your band can come along, you guys can play the final song, close up.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing is like most of my band now is are you in DFW now?
Yep,
right now?
DFW. I'm in Fort Worth.
Yeah, most of my band is in Fort Worth, Arlington. My drummer, he's down here, but I'm sure he could either roll with me or I could get a sub, so it's no big deal. Or we just do an acoustic total, bass, 2 guitars type thing. And yeah, I would love to do that, man. I absolutely would love to. And I appreciate you having me on. And, that's one of those things to where if you want in on any film stuff that I have knowledge of opportunities, just let me know, because I don't dude, I'm so straightforward as far as living my life. I wake up in the morning, I go work out, I work now, and film. And so it's like, if you want any information, you just hit me up and tell me. And that's what I tell people all the time. I'm not, trying to withhold, it's like, dude, just let me know. and I'll do my best, and I'll explain like, yo, you talk to this casting person, or this is who's casting this, you know, if I've got more details, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I share things as well too on my page. You know, I'm very open about it as well. I don't gatekeep, you know. And as far as other Indigenous actors go, because I'm part of a couple of Indigenous acting groups here,
Okay.
in Texas, and you know, I like to try to elevate all of us as actors.
Oh, absolutely.
Essentially, so.
Yeah.
But anyways,
and
I really appreciate you coming on, man. Let me
Yeah, I
bring
would love
David
to-
back on, and we're gonna tell everybody good night. Okay.
Okay, I'd love to your help on that the film Merciless Indian Savage. I definitely want to get y'all the info I can as we keep going forward and stuff, and anything you want to help out with or do, you know, I'd love to have you aboard and everything like that and stuff. So good night. Is that what you want me to say? Good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
Wayne.
you all for having me on. It was amazing, and I hope to see you guys again soon.
Yeah, Wayne, it was great listening and hearing you, brother.
Thank you. I like the fireworks.
All right. I know that was kind of crazy. That's cool. That's kind of a cool feature. But I appreciate you, man. I'm gonna go ahead and go through my final words. And again, like I said, I look forward to having you on the full show as well as your band.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, whatever you need. I'd love to do it.
All right, brother.
All right, bro.
I really appreciate you. You have a good night, okay?
You too.
All right. Oh, it's not working. Hold on a second. I had to reboot my my computer. Wayne, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and moving it over to.
Like, what do I just hit exit? Is that what?
Yeah, you can hit exit or you can hit end.
Hit leave. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. That was a wonderful show. I really appreciate everybody who tuned in and watched us. And we got to speak a little bit more about the Indigenous issues that go on as well. I am going to share one more time the video for from the American Indian Native Studies course that is up for renewal. And so get your phones ready. And if you're watching on your phone, take a screenshot of the QR code itself. That way you can also go through and sign the petition too. This is definitely something, like I said, that I'm very passionate about, as well as, you know, obviously other Indigenous actors are also very much in support of this because there is a lack of knowledge that we are still here. And so that's why I use the hashtag, which I think I forgot to do it this time, but I use the hashtag We Are Still Here because that is in support of the American Indian Native Studies. Okay. And so I'm going to play that right now, right before we close it out. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna play a little credits from all of our sponsors real quick, and then, or no, my bad. I'm gonna play the Native Course renewal. Then I'm gonna play our little sponsor reel that we have put together for you guys, and then we're gonna roll in credits. So thank you guys very much for watching. Get the Matson. See you guys later.
Currently, only 3 out of over 1,000 school districts across Texas have an American Indians Native Studies course, but other school districts such as Austin and San Antonio have expressed their interest to teach this course, which is why we need your help to make sure this course gets renewed this winter. For a little bit of context, the American Indian Native Studies course is currently offered as a pilot course in Grand Prairie ISD, and it is up for renewal at the end of this academic year. The renewal would renew the existing course that is already approved and make it available to teach in school districts across Texas for the next 5 years. Unfortunately, the renewal process has not been placed on the agenda at the State Board of Education meeting this January, which is why we need your help. Because school districts often define their calendar for the next academic year in the early winter, we need this course to be renewed as soon as possible so that it has a chance to be offered next year. Please help us email State Board of Education Chair Kinsey through the link in our bio or in the caption below to make sure that the American Indian Native Studies course renewal and adoption be placed on the next available agenda. Thank you guys so much.